What's up? What's up, guys? Welcome to Champagne Sharks live stream. I'm Kenny. I'm here with Vida. We have a guest coming on here in a hot second, but for those of you that are here, let's see who's all in the building. Nobody. So, well, I can see people watching, but there's no comments yet. But what's up with you, Vida? How you doing?
I am doing all right. I am feeling pretty good. I had a pretty good day, so had a pretty good weekend. So I'm feeling good. Oh, for sure. I did not get a nap in, and I'm super tired. But I'm a trooper. I got a couple of bites in of food today, so just a second ago.
Zombie Clive, what's up, fam? Zombie Clive, first person in the building. I told y'all about trying to stay up late talking to me. I don't sleep.
I noticed. I see.
I'll be up till 3 a.m. just staring at the ceiling. I don't know why. I guess I'm like a zombie or a vampire.
That's a good thing. But that's a good thing for those times when I can't sleep. So we start debating there's some topic we can debate.
Exactly. I'm up doing something. Either I'm watching TV, watching a movie, or just bullshitting. But I got something that came in the mail today. First of all, you can find us on SoundCloud. You can find become a patron. Go to Champagne Sharks on SoundCloud, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere. You can find us. Those of you that know where we are, y'all know where to find us. But for the new people, you see the Patreon scrolling down at the bottom of the screen. And like, share, subscribe, all of those kind of things for YouTube. And if you go to Redbubble, I got this new mask that just came in. And I'm going to tell you straight up right now, this mask is legit. This is legit. And you can find it on Redbubble. I just got it in the mail literally like 10 minutes ago. So you can go to Redbubble. You can buy the Champagne Shark mask. I'm not sure if the mugs are ready yet. I have to ask T about that. I'm not sure where we are with that. But yeah, man. And they're cheap. They're only like $10. I think the masks are like $10 or something like that. I'm not sure. What? 2008 B. Scott. Yeah, you're right about that. Portland is poison. When you ain't got nothing to do all day, I mean, it's 85 degrees outside right now. But I mean, where are you going? There ain't nowhere to go. Everything is closed. Everything is, shut down. And you can get them mugs and put some Hennessy in that. Look, you want to feel like a real nigga and drink out of a Champagne Shark mug, just go to the store, get you some old English, and just pour it in the mug. Nobody is gonna judge you for that. No one's gonna judge you for using the mugs. But yeah, man. So we have a guest coming on, Doctor. I'm gonna make sure I say Dr. Candace. So Dr. Candace is coming on. She should be
Dr. Candace Briggs.
There you go, Dr. Candace Briggs. That sounds like somebody that is going to tell you everything is fucked up wrong with you. Dr. Briggs, like, damn.
No, actually, Dr. Briggs will tell you what's right with you.
Well, that too. But I'm just saying that name sounds like somebody, you go and see her, you're going to go home like, damn, I'm fucked up. There she go right there. I'm going to add her in right now.
Yay!
There we go.
Hi.
This is Dr. Candace Briggs.
Hello. How are you?
We're doing great, man. I'm glad to see you guys here. I'm glad to see you here. For all the fans out there, we've been plotting and putting this together for the last week. We did a Zoom call conversation about a topic. And I'm glad that Dr. Briggs is here, and I'm glad, of course, that Vida is here. And I'm gonna tell you guys right now, because we have two women here, and you guys are gonna give us a perspective about black men, black women relationships, and just relationships as a whole, and how we work with each other and how we talk with each other and things like that, how we interact. And I don't have a set of questions because I know how the audience is going to basically thwart all of our questions and have their own questions. You know what I mean? So I don't have any questions, but if you have questions, we can get going.
Okay. Well, first, I want to just kind of introduce why we're talking about this. Because one of the things that I've noticed, and I know I talked to Dr. Briggs about, and I talked to you about it, Kenny, about the fact that Black relationships aren't meant to look like the relationships that we are often told that our relationships supposed to look like that, right? Like our relationships can't look like that. Only within I heard Dr. Jason Patton say that only within the last 40 years have Black people even been able to be a family at all. You really think about it,
right?
How could you be a secure, solid, healthy family when you're selling your relatives off and your children off and your wife and your husband off, right?
Right.
Or the fact that you are made to breed with a person, not connected. You weren't even allowed to do that.
Exactly.
The fact that you had to brutalize your child in front of your master because if you didn't, they might do it and they might kill him.
Right.
So those sort of things have had a huge impact on our relationship with each other because it's just trauma on trauma on trauma. How can we actually build and connect if we haven't been given the opportunity and the tools to heal? So I just had a great conversation. Fun. It's not going to be all like doom and gloom. I know I talk about trauma all the time, but it's not going to be doom and gloom. But we do want to have a real sincere conversation. So I think so many times we get lost and we try to copy what's on TV if none of that shit's real.
Okay, so first things first.
Trust me, you get your heart broke. Not everybody's is a G about it. You know, it's okay to admit that.
So I have a question with Dr. Brick. Do you hear an echo? Because I can hear an echo. You can't hear me?
Oh,
I'm hearing that.
I'm gonna mute my mic. Maybe that'll help.
I fixed it. I'm sorry. It was me.
Okay. We're good. Go ahead. You go ahead. Unmute, Dr. Briggs.
Oh, okay.
All right, good. There we go. Because I was hearing like an echo or like a some type of reverb or something like that.
Okay.
But we good.
Okay. So how do I see? Oh, there's no. Have people made comments? Oh,
yes.
There are comments. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Zombie Clyde.
Listen, y'all. This is all new to me. I this whole technology stuff, y'all. I act like an old woman because I am at heart, and yeah. So I'm just wanted to read in the comments. Are there any questions before we just talk? You talked a lot about like what trauma and how that impacts our relationships. I also want to just talk about, just men, Black men and Black women in relationships, right? Like. Yes. I just have been having a lot of experience, and I don't know about y'all. Here go TMI for me. With the quarantine, I'm single, trying to mingle. And the dating thing, it can be very difficult. Even just trying to connect with people, it can be very challenging, right? And so I guess I've just had a lot of experiences where I feel that maybe we're not connecting as much because we're so scared of the rejection part that we literally, by all means necessary, will be doing the most. And when I say doing the most, I mean, we guard it to the 10th power, but guardedness could look like real rude, real ghosting, real, what else can it look like? I don't know, but it just seems to me that a lot of us are just avoiding this thing called rejection. And the point of like dating, in my opinion, is to figure out if you can connect with that person. So obviously there's likely a chance you won't. And I think we never think about that in relationships. Like, hey, everybody that we meet may not be our husband or wife.
Yeah, that's so basically from a man's perspective, and a lot of men don't like talking about this. Men don't like being rejected. And I don't mean it like in a violent thing or anything like that. A lot of dudes won't put themselves out there because they don't want to be rejected. So they just, and this is where those of you that know me from the show, this is where I blame the internet, because the internet has allowed people to hide behind putting themselves out there. So you can go online and create a personality of whoever you think you want to be, but in real life, you're not that person. Right. And then once you have to step out there, it's almost like, this is a weird analogy, but it's almost like how a lot of dudes or people, period, watch a lot of pornography, but then when they finally get with a regular human being, they don't really know how to interact with them.
That's a real life story.
Yeah, that's real.
But that's real. That is a real life story. But also, okay, yes, I get it. And most of us are putting in our best front or like best version of ourselves when we meet people anyway. So I always say, you're probably getting the cream of the crop, but is that the real until like maybe weeks or months, depending on the thing. But I guess my question is, how are you supposed, like, do we really expect that every single woman you connect with or every single man you connect with, you really feel like they have to be your long life partner? Because I feel like some people that come in our lives, it's for various purposes. Yeah. I personally have met men that I've previously dated or just was interested in initially and realized, we just cool as friends, or we cool as this, you know, and that is a form of rejection, I guess. But what if we were open to the idea of not seeing it as a rejection and just seeing it as an experience? We're just experiencing each other, you know, like.
Yeah. So 2008 B. Scott said, ghosting could be a mix of avoiding rejection or looking desperate. We are prone to all types of weird stuff. And you know what's funny? The ghosting, I don't even know if you want to call it a culture, ghosting culture. A lot of people, that type of person, I look at it like this. When you meet someone, depending on what your intentions are. So if I meet Vida, if I meet you, and my intentions are to date you, I'm going to tell you. Within the first week of talking to you, I'm going to let you know. Now, when you're vague, that's when you get fucked up in the game. And that's something that I learned years ago. If you meet a woman and you want to go out on a date with her and you potentially want to be in a relationship with her, tell her. The only thing she can do is say no. She can say yeah or no.
Right. And I think intentions.
Yeah.
Ding, ding. People don't want to say their intentions. I don't know if that's like a guy or no, do women say, well, I don't know. I say my intentions.
Women do that too. Yes, you guys do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay, there's a couple people that like to live in the gray area.
Right.
And again, I guess that is a protection thing. But ghosting in 2020, like, I just feel like we're too grown. Like, we are too grown to still not. I think at this point, this is what I feel. I feel like people should give an explanation. Yeah, women do that too.
They do.
Women do what? Ghost?
Yes.
Yes, I was a ghoster. I'm a reformed ghoster. I was a ghosting ass motherfucker. I won't even lie to you.
What was that though?
I think I didn't know I didn't know what to say or do. I didn't know the words. Like, honestly, I started off dating like in this really naive space. Like, I didn't date in high school. I didn't really have boy-girl interactions like that in school at all. I was very prudish. So by the time I was like 19, 20, 21, 22, and I'm dating, for the first time, I didn't really understand, like, how do you tell someone, you don't like them, or maybe you're not even sure you don't like them. You just don't feel like ever talking to them ever. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what happens with me. Like, so, well, what happened with me now? I just tell people. But when I was younger, it was mostly like, what am I supposed to say?
Right.
After that, I didn't even realize I was ghosting sometimes because I just was no longer interested and I just didn't want to talk to them.
Yeah.
In the real world, not even in the real world, in the most logical way, it would be like, oh, I'm just not interested. But a lot of people are afraid to say that because they're afraid to make somebody feel a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been on both ends, but I've rarely ghosted. I think I'm the person, this is what I'll say. I wasn't a ghoster, but I think I was so open and expressive and telling people that people thought I was a mean bitch, basically. That's what they felt in their soul, because I would be like, listen, I'll just tell them, this is not what it is. This is not, I don't think this is vibing. And they would, look at it that way. So what I had to understand is, first of all, the rejection should be compassionate, because everybody got feelings, everybody got emotions. And at the time, I'll admit that, I really didn't care about the other person. I was just trying to make sure they understood my point, my perspective, my feelings. And I realized that kind of rejection could, be an issue, So I'm not saying that we need to just kill somebody's soul. But I do think we gotta at least be honest what it is that's not working or why you're not connecting. I like explanation. I'm tired of getting ghosted. I'm being honest.
I also was gonna add something too. The other thing is, sometimes it was never blatantly said that this person wanted to like be with you a certain way. And so sometimes, and you don't want to be the first one to jump out there and be like, I want to reject you, and you haven't actually stepped forward. You've been talking and hanging out, you know, but you never came forward and was like, yo, I'm really feeling you a lot. I really like to like really date you for real or whatever. I really like this to go further. If you don't say that, I don't assume that there's any obligation to reply to you or say anything to you. Like, it's hard to have that. It's like to feel like that. Because what am I supposed to say? Like, hey, I'm rejecting you even though you haven't said shit.
See, and then I'm like the teacher. I'm like, listen. So I noticed that you've been not calling me. I noticed that you've been doing this. I don't know what I like clarification. But that's when people might find it confrontational. I've been told that I can be, because I'm more of like, if I notice that there's an issue, I'm going to ask questions. Like, what, like, are you into me? Are you not? I don't know. I need some men out there to tell me what is it that maybe will make it easier for people to be open. Because I feel like with me, when I say it, a lot of times people might feel like I'm either being a little harsh or just not sensitive. Or I had one guy that recently, he said, I don't need no explanation. And I was like, why though? But don't you want, and here's my thing. I was like, but I never said you were like a bad dude. I just said that I don't know if our chemistry is cool, but I you know what I mean? Like,
he was a weirdo. When guys react like that, I just assume they're fucking weirdos. Cause like, no, I'm dead ass serious. Cause like, if that's your reaction, I get it. Like, you know what? I don't really need an explanation. I get it. I'm in my feelings right now, whatever. But if the guy gets angry and snaps, like, no, you were psycho. And that's why I wasn't feeling you. And I get it now. That's what I
think sometimes, man, sometimes we underestimate who people really are when if you don't really know them, and then you start you have conversations with them and talk to them, and you guys are like filling each other out, and when they do flip like that, you don't know what was going on in that motherfucker brain. You don't know what's going on in their life, and women do that too. Like, I'm gonna give you guys a perfect example. Me and Vida talked about this. So recently, I was seeing this girl, or woman. I don't want to say girls. I was seeing this woman. She's like my age, like 34, 35. And she was cool, but there were certain things about her that wasn't lining up. And I told her straight up, hey, I don't think your expectations are lining up with the type of person that I am, but we can be friends. We don't and when I say friends, and I like being very concrete and I say what I mean. And I mean what I say. So that means if I tell you we want to be friends, I'm going to tell you straight up. Now, I'm not saying we got to be friends with benefits. I'm saying we could be friends. Now, this person never called me back, never responded to a text, nothing. But this is the thing, though. She can't say that I didn't tell her what was up. She can't say that I was vague. She can't say that I ghosted her. She can't say that I used her for anything because there wasn't nothing she had that I couldn't do for myself anyway. So it was like, I just noticed that there was certain things she had going on in her life that ain't lining up with what I'm trying to do. She wanted to have a kid and get married. I'm like, I don't want to have no more kids. I only got one, but I don't want no more. And I ain't really trying to marry you. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm keeping it real. You know what I mean?
I wanted to get to that comment that BL had. BL said a lot of people are afraid of hurting people, or they want to keep up with options too.
Yes.
And then BL said earlier, women ghost and then try to reappear like Casper. Oh, like, nah, I'm cool. You know what's funny? When I was a ghoster, when I was a ghoster in my past life, I never. They weren't an option no more. Like, I didn't like them. But that's the thing about people who, if you're ghosting because you just don't like them and you don't want to hurt their feelings, that's you're not going back to them. You don't give a fuck about them. In fact, I won't say give a fuck, but you're not trying to go back there. Right. But if you're ghosting somebody because you're trying to just play around and have options, and you maybe you're more focused on another person, you're not telling the other person, because then I would think because you're trying to keep your backup open. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been in those type of situations. First off, I want to say thank you for the $10 donation to Zombie Clive. What's up, Gameplay Fair, BL, 2008 B Scott. I don't want to butcher your name, but Lamin Sane from Japan. What are you doing in Japan? It's like 2 a.m. in Japan. I think it's like 2 a.m. in Japan. I think.
But he said he flipped. He said talk.
See, but this is the thing. When you know, and when you're out here pursuing someone, and Vida has heard me say this before. In this society, men chase women. That's just the way it is. The only time women chase
when. Because okay, I'm being petty. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying in the quote unquote natural order of the way things happen in this society, and I'm talking about the United States of America. Men chase women, unless you're an athlete or a rapper. Then women will chase a man. You know what I'm saying? They will. A woman. Me and Vida talked about this last night, and we're going to get into that conversation a little bit later. But about value and what you have to offer and things like that. There's a lot of times where people don't have anything to offer except for what they got between their legs. And when they get around someone of some means, that's all they have. Whereas in our world, the working class or whatever you want to call us.
Same for men.
Same thing. It's the same thing.
I'm like,
it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing.
With that, like, that's not an apology. That's not, I love you. Like, stop.
Right. You know what I mean? So, I mean, when you're trying to date somebody, or when you're trying to pursue someone, sometimes you got to do your homework too. And this comes with experience. You got to be around. I wouldn't expect any dude that's 23, 24, 25 to fully understand the way women think. I'm 39 and I don't know shit about women. Okay? And I got sisters. I got a mama. There's a lot of things I just don't understand. I got a 16-year-old daughter. She got me fucking confused half the time. So
same here. Y'all men is the same way. I had this conversation with my homegirl the other day. I was like, listen, I'm about to throw in the towel and give it up because every time I thought I knew, it's like.
But Vida said something last night. What's the name of that book that you were talking about? The magnet. What is it called?
Oh, the human magnet syndrome.
Yes.
Yeah. So
expound on it a little bit.
Yeah, so that was really interesting. It actually kind of changed my whole life. So essentially, it talks about how narcissists and codependents basically are attracted to each other. So it really goes deep into how your experiences as a child with your parent and your relationship with your parent basically develop this particular personality, either sometimes codependent or narcissistic. Mm-hmm. And to kind of get people understanding of what that means, narcissists are self-oriented, but to the extreme, to the point where it's damn near a disorder or a full-on disorder, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's people who are others-oriented. Those are codependent. But when it's extreme, that's just an extreme codependence, or as one author calls it, self-love deficiency disorder.
Right.
Self-love deficiency disorder.
Okay.
Self-love deficiency disorder. So essentially, the reason why you're a codependent, being a person who's way too giving in their relationship. You know, people who brag about, I'm the loyal one, and I just do everything for my partner, and he just mistreated me so bad. Mm. When you hear that, and they might be accurate, but the real thing is that they gave up so much of who they were, not addressing their own issues.
Right.
While trying to just give. And usually the person that they were with had their own issues and they were trying to fix them instead of fixing themselves. And funny enough, everybody laughed at Jada, but she was really on point with that codependent part when she was talking about her codependency. You have a problem where you try to fix other people instead of fixing yourself. So relationships where you're overly giving, you're overly loyal, because like I said in another episode, you're doing things for love and not from love. You're trying to get something. So you're trying to manipulate this person into loving you. That's why you do his laundry when you didn't really want to. And he ain't asked you to. He didn't even ask you for the shit. Right? But I'm so giving. Nobody asked you to do all that. So there's the narcissist. What happens with the narcissist is they take full on advantage of those people. So they become magnets, because what happens, the narcissist once their ego strokes, they like to be, right? The codependent gives them all of that. The codependent is always admiring them, always stroking their ego, right? The narcissist is never wrong about anything. They're always the ones that have to take charge, regardless of the situation. If you want to watch a movie, they don't want to watch that movie. You're not watching that movie. You watch whatever movie he want to watch or she want to watch, right? So those kind of people tend to be magnets for each other because they give each other what they want.
Basically, I agree that's just, it's hard because, if you're not, I think it does start with the healing within you, because you will subconsciously attract people and the energies based on where you are inside. So if you're broken, like I said, you have this trauma, whatever, you're going to start attracting that.
Yeah.
And I would say that's generally how I see, like, even just in my own past relationships, is like, as I started to really grow, heal, and try to understand me, because I'm the common denominator in all these relationships, that's when I started realizing, oh, the pool of men have changed because I changed, and who I am, who I attract changes.
Thank you. You just said it. You just said it. That's exactly what I was just about to say, because, and I'm sure a lot of men I've heard a lot of men say this, and I know a lot of men that this has happened to, and it's happened to me before. I kept attracting the same type of person. It didn't matter what my paycheck said every month. It didn't matter when I got my master's degree and all that kind of shit. It didn't matter when I left the street life alone. It was the same type of women. And this is the thing. Those same type of women might have achieved just as much as me, but they were the same type of person. Yeah. And I was like, damn, what is it that I'm doing that's allowing these people to come into my life? And I didn't fully understand, but it was a lot of things that what I was looking for. And there was a certain type of things in women that I was afraid to look for, and I was willing to just accept this, whatever that was. I was willing to just accept that, and that was good enough. You know what I mean? And then I had to reevaluate, like, okay, yeah, she is fine, but she's stupid. Or yeah, she is fine, but she's a narcissist. Or she's fine, but her family are helicopter parents. Or she is fine, but she don't want to work. Or she is fine, but she don't have anything to offer except for coochie. You know what I'm saying? And that's where a lot of dudes get caught up. That's a whole nother TV show where dudes will get caught up with a woman who really don't have nothing going on, but they just got something between their legs.
Or this is the other thing. Sometimes people have something going on. They meet all the checklist marks, just like you said. Didn't matter what job you had, what your bank account looked like, what car you drove, what city you was in. You was found in the same level, right? They might be a well-educated narcissist, right? Or they might be a well-educated abusive person, right? So we think that because they met all these other check marks. That's why I laugh at these conversations all the time, because they're always so superficial. They're like, you know, he has to have this degree, or she has to have this thing or that thing. And none of that has anything to do with, hey, how do I connect? How do I heal my own shit? What are my issues? You know, things like that. And also realizing what kind of people have I been attracting? You know, are those people that I want to attract? Why am I attracting those people? The thing about abusive people, for example, is they target people who have already been abused. They target people who have already been abused. And if you haven't been healing from that abuse and trauma, it's like you're walking around with a big V on your forehead for every person with the radar looking at you. And that's how these same people end up you go from one abusive relationship to another abusive relationship to another abusive relationship, because you never actually healed or learned how to love yourself.
I think also when you said that, it made me think of like when we attract, who do we attract, right? And it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about, like, you know, people not always being their best, or not being their best self. They're not showing their true authentic self in the beginning, having kind of like a mask. I mean, I know we all wear a mask now, but I'm just saying, literally covering up the realness. So they'll say what they want, but they're scared to, like, you know, like I said, the rejection part. I'm scared to be vulnerable. I'm scared to be too open. So what I'm putting out there, guess what you're gonna attract? The woman that's attracted to that fake shit. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, it's almost like if you are a true color, I'm gonna just say purple inside, and you gotta show red because, you know, you don't want to show the purple right now, it's too soon. And you walking around showing just red because, you know, everybody can't get that purple. But homegirl over there, all she like is purple. I mean, red. So you're attracting, you really want purple because that's inside, but you're going to keep attracting red because that's all you show. That's what you've been doing up front. And so you mad that you have homegirl who's literally the opposite of everything that you wanted in your life because you were afraid to be you. You were afraid to be authentic. You were afraid to be vulnerable. You were afraid to open up. And that's what I'm saying. Like, at some point, we got to see relationships as experiences. heal from the parts of yourself that is broken up and everything, but also you got to be willing to be real with the people, because I feel like a lot of times men and women, I'm talking to myself, you're attracting somebody that you don't want because you're not being your real self too.
Right.
They attracted to that other person. If you had time to like let the guard down and be you, you probably would attract the real man that you're really interested, or the real woman that you're interested. That's just my take on it. I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
I think you're right. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm interested in this comment. I don't even know if I understand it. Kenny,
yep. Yep. I tell women that we say they stop dating black. What? So
I understand what they're trying to say. What she's trying to say, she says, yep, I tell women that we say they stop dating black men, but I tell them that they're dating white men with the same flaws. So she's talking about, I don't know if Gameplay Fair, I see a woman as a logo, so I don't want to say it is a woman. I don't know if Gameplay Fair is a woman or not. But what Gameplay Fair is saying is, and we see this on Twitter all the time. These people talking about, divest, don't date black men, and all that kind of stuff. But then we look and we see what's going on, and we see these white dudes have the same flaws, if not worse. Because we've seen white dudes start dating black women, and then they start having sex with them, call them all kind of nigger bitches and all kind of shit. Like I know someone that happened to in real life.
Ooh,
I always read these like articles, and people are like, "Hey, my husband said this, and I don't know how I feel about that." Or they mistreat my son who's darker, or my and it's like
I just start to think like how well have you got to know your partner? Because I'm like that kind of stuff.
But that's the thing about racist motherfuckers. Like, let's be honest. Like a lot of white people, even themselves, think they're not racist, even though they deep down are. So they might have had that shit hitting deep for 10, 15 years. You never really know. My belief is that the shit was always there, but the signs that you're taught to look for aren't the signs that they were showing. Because I'm a strong believer that we keep telling white people, "Hey, you have to stop doing that thing." It's like we're basically giving them the costume to look they're not racist than they are. Okay, I no longer wear blackface. Now I'm not a racist. I'll say I hate Trump. Now I'm not a racist. So we're just giving them the blueprint on how to say they're not racist. So now we've also taught our own children and our own people, hey, these are the signs of somebody racist. They didn't do these things, so they're not racist. Despite they vote a certain way. Despite look at Tamara. Her husband's clearly racist.
Yeah.
Tamara's husband? Oh, I don't know nothing about that little stuff. So
Tamara Mowry's husband is a staunch Republican Trump supporter. And he himself has and so he basically, I think he gaslights her on race issues multiple times based on her own stories.
Yeah.
It's extremely disgusting. I haven't seen a healthy interracial relationship personally, but
that just makes me think if you're I'll say I'm not opposed to dating out of my race, but I always said if I ever did, we're gonna have to have that roots heart to heart talk about all the things.
They have those conversations is what I'm telling you. White people
they got married
and that shit. Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying straight up activists. Listen, I know white activists in the community who are married to other activists in the community. These people study race and talk about race, read books on race all day, every day, read all the theories on race and gender and equality, all this shit. That's what they do. This is their community organizers, right? And that same white person, it was a black guy and a white woman, this particular group I'm talking about, this white girl was constantly disrespecting black women around her to the point where his family won't even fuck with her. But
that's her insecurities. That's her insecurities, though.
But of course it is. But either way, that's her racism deep down.
Absolutely.
White people feel insecure around black people.
Right.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is with Tamara and her situation and that the dude that she's married to, Eve, the rapper Eve, because now she's all of a sudden talking about how she's got to have these weird conversations with her husband. And I'm like, okay, but why didn't you think about these things when you married these people?
Because
she should know better.
Well, the reason why you married them because they were white. That's the only reason why you married them.
Well, he a billionaire. That's why she married him.
Well, that too.
I don't get that. What do you mean? Because she married him because he's white?
What? She married him because he's white. What other reason why she married? If you married someone who's not,
what other reason why she would? What?
Let me finish. Let me expound on this. If you're married to a white person, specifically a white dude, if you're married to a white dude and you've never had these conversations about race, why else did you marry him then? You know that there's a chance that this person might be a racist. And I'm only speaking from a person that understands the system of white supremacy and racism. So if you understand racism, white supremacy, and you marry a white person and you've never had a conversation with them about race, why else did you marry them then? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't feel like that's too general to say that she married him because he was white. I think she married him what he had. I don't think
that's part of it.
I think she would have just married any white man. Like, I think it was, I'm wearing this white man because he's got all of these, and maybe they had a connection. But I can't say that, because white does not equate to success, and it doesn't equate to greatness. It doesn't equate to loveness. It doesn't equate to all the things. So I'm like, nah.
Well, you're using logic, Dr. Briggs.
Well, let me say this. I don't think she married him because he was white. I think she married him because he was a billionaire. I really believe it was the billionaire thing. Because if he was, she would marry a perfect-ass billionaire. Now, are there black women who marry white guys because they are white and they have issues with their race and having self-hate? Of course. Are there also women who are married? Like, for example, everybody was clowning that black girl that was married to that white football player, right? Now, I know how I feel about being with white people as a black person. To me, I couldn't from raising my kids. I just could not see a white person with black children, period, right? But I think she was with that guy not because he was white. I think she was with him because he was a rich football player.
You talking about Travis Kelce today? Yeah.
For sure, right? If she met fell in love with a rich football player, she would have been with him. You know?
Yeah, I'm not saying that. So first things first. The lady that married Travis Kelce, I don't know that lady. I've never seen anything about her having any self-hate issues or anything like that.
That was the conversation that was on.
Yeah.
Saying that was you.
Well, the thing about it is, the reason why I brought up Tamara and I brought up Eve is because how is it that you've gotten this far?
Yeah, I agree that that's it. That's very idiotic. But I also think that most people that we just talked about in the beginning, everybody is not communicating. People don't like to be open, and I feel like you can easily get distracted with materialistic things, just the loveliness of it. When things happen in our climate, in our society, that like right now, 2020 is unbuilding. But
you could have did that with a black person though. You could have married a black football player, a black billionaire. But I'm just saying, I understand the dude.
But you act like billionaires and football players are just like.
Yeah, but you ain't. But this the thing though. You're never you can spend $1 billion just like you can spend $100 million. So the amount of money is immaterial. Wealthy is wealthy.
Wait, if we're going by let's say the goal for them was to find somebody that was like billionaires, whatever athlete, and I still wanted to make it. I don't think that the goal was I needed to get a white man, because I haven't seen, if that was it, this is my thought, and I don't know these women that well, but if they had a record of dating all white men their whole life, like they haven't been dating white, like, so I just feel like this is a person that they just wanted. Like, I don't get it. Why are you making it about, I don't know.
Why am I making it about race?
Kenny, are you saying that let me ask you this, Kenny, are you saying that every relationship with, where it's a black person and a white person, that's who we've been talking about. Do you think that they wanted a white person every time, or do you think that because I was thinking multiple reasons. One, there are definitely those divestors, for example, who are adamant black women need to be with white guys. Period. Right? That's a big movement. We're seeing that in the black feminist spaces, that they're growing in those black feminist spaces. So we know that's a thing as well. There are also people, and men and women, black boys and black girls, they're just not educated on race. They're not educated. Their parents don't talk about. Their parents are like, let's get married marry whoever, it's true love. Nobody ever talks to them about race and tell why that's important to talk. How are you gonna pass down certain traditions or whatever it is. Like, we don't even have those conversations. So I think a lot of times a lot of people just don't have that political space or knowledge or social justice perspective or even think to have those conversations.
Black people ain't doing it either. Black couples ain't talking either. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, but I think the difference is you're married, but the difference is this: you're with somebody else who's black versus somebody who's a part of the group that's oppressing your people. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not dismissing, but I wanted to get clear. Like, I feel like we're stressing the fact that these women marry white men, and I get that part, but to say that was like the goal was to marry a white man, like I don't know if the goal was to marry a white man. I do think they should have had intelligent conversations, knowing that there is 2 different cultures and ethnicities. Y'all should have been talked about that way in the dating phases of what you wanted to see and how your life may progress. They know what's going on in society. Yeah, I do think about that. But dating a white billionaire gives special access to whiteness versus some normal working middle class white dudes. Okay.
That's my whole point. So if you if you're looking for access into whiteness and you're in Hollywood, like Tamara, like Eve, you're gonna marry a white person.
Who said they're wanting access to whiteness?
Well,
so this is why I'm hearing the division and the point. You're saying, so Kenney, you're saying that are you saying that all black women who or black women these specific black women want to marry white guys specifically because they're white and get access to whiteness? Is that what you're saying? And when
I'm not talking about anybody. I'm talking about these 2 specific people.
Okay. Also, those 2 specific people. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think what Candace is pointing out is that's an assumption, especially when there's all these other factors that can contribute to that. Like
absolutely, it's an assumption. I'm not saying it's not an assumption. It definitely is.
Oh yeah. But for example, Tamara, I remember Tamara saying her reasons. Well, my dad is white. That was what she said. She did say that. My dad is white. That was her.
But what does that have to do with anything?
That's my point.
The raised her is white.
So that's my point is
her father is white.
Having a parent that's white.
I think that's just another perspective. I don't know what it'd like to have a white dad and a man.
That's exactly my point. So in her mind, she was raised by a white person. So her mindset isn't going to be, as political as a person who was raised by 2 black parents. I just think white. To me, that's part of the reason why I wouldn't have a kid with a white person. But that to me is a big part of it.
So basically what you're saying is that because I'm make sure I get this right. So basically what you're saying is that because her dad is white, Tamara's dad is white, and she married a white dude. Now I don't know, I'm guessing Tamara's dad's probably not racist. I'm not saying he is. But so because she married a white dude, because her dad is white, she married a white dude, she assumed that everything would be just like her dad. Now
I didn't say that.
Okay, because what I'm saying is when you're living, and she's in Hollywood, so I know she knows better, and she's 40 something years old. So if you're that old and you don't know no better, then that's your own fault. But I'm just saying, like, there's no way that she did not know.
You're saying she should have known he was racist, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you're dating somebody, or when you're hanging out with somebody, it doesn't just surprise you out of nowhere that this person has said racist stuff.
That's my point of saying, why did those beginning talks, or did we look over it?
But she let it ride. Why did she let it ride? Why did Eve let it ride? Look, when Eve's husband, the billionaire, started saying racist stuff, that ain't the first time she heard it. What happened is
Black Lives Matter was happening long before this year, and I'm sure something had to that was a red flag.
Yeah, they let it ride because they knew they had access to whiteness in their careers and in their lives. Eve's rap career is over. We know that already. Tamara's barely on TV except for on that talk show. She's not on shows or movies or anything like that. So they found some sustainability and some structure for their life marrying this white dude. They took the risk. They took the risk. Look, you had to have taken a risk because you can't tell me that they just came out of nowhere saying racist stuff. So you said, you know what, I can put up with that. But now that
you're saying it's half and half for me of what you're saying. Yes, the racism, no to the they just had a come up. These women already was on the come up.
I didn't say anything about a come up. I ain't talking about no come up. I'm saying they had access.
I think
they had access through their partners. They already got money.
You don't have to say
Tamara had access way. What are you talking about?
When's the last time you seen Tamara in the movie?
Listen, I'm not.
You haven't.
Because you don't. Okay, but when you think about access, we're not talking about movies. Movies don't equate to access. The billionaires don't be out in these scenes in these streets like that anyway. Half of us don't even know the wealthiest people.
But she's not a billionaire. That's the whole point. She's not. So she's gaining access through that person.
Okay, so what? That's her husband.
So the question is, were they gaining access through a billionaire, or was it access because he was white? Because this he just, or was he a billionaire who happened to be white?
Well, clearly he's a white racist.
Well,
and
racist.
My whole thing is we can't say she didn't know it. They've been knowing that these people have been this way, but they took that risk. But now in 2020, shit didn't hit the fan. Or like you said, Vida, this ain't the first time that Black Lives Matter has been around.
I honestly never believed ever that when they say, oh, this is my first time after we've been married, like, oh, it's the first time I've ever seen anything racist. I never believe that. I think that's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
But that's also because I'm also hypersensitive, like as far as I do racist shit. So I can see it. Huh?
No, I was gonna say that. I was like, I think we can't go by how we live, because we and how they live is a total different thing.
But that's what I was saying before. That how for example, me personally, or the three of us here, we have a particular social conscience where we're not looking for we know what to identify. We know we know how to identify racism when we see it. Not everybody has that ability to identify racism when they see it. Not everybody. I think that's why I was bringing up Tamara's white dad. How she probably doesn't have the same ability to identify racism the way if she had black parents two black parents could teach her that, or in some way she'd inherit that from her parents. White number 2 equal elevated status. There are very few black billionaires and even 100 millionaires, and they mostly don't have the same power that whites have in the same bracket. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Very good point. And also this one, the quiet part in some of these interracial relationships is that some people, men and women, want to opt out of oppression and think they can do that by having a white partner. And that's men and women. Black men and women do that.
There's actually, I read a book about that too, not too long ago. And it was basically about that, because that was a culture of teaching your child to be with somebody white so they could have opportunity, access, because their family just didn't have it.
Happens in Brazil, happens in the Dominican Republic.
I want to say it was Louisiana. I want to say, was it what are they called? The
octoroons, the quadroons.
Passage. It's called Passage. Okay.
Well, that's so historically in Louisiana, that's something that used to happen back in the 1800s, where Black people would purposely become quote unquote mixed. Now, when things started going bad, even in Haiti during the Haitian Revolution, the people that were so-called octoroons or whatever you want to call them, mixed people, they thought that they would be saved at the end of the day. But when the French were in rule, they were against even the Black people there. They got killed too, because they thought they can opt out of Blackness by being married to a white person.
And also, it's funny to talk about that too, because when we look at this historically speaking, like the Dominican Republic, right? I forgot the name of the ruler, Trujillo, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
And his whole movement was, we got to get white, period. Yep. And I think the term was mejorar la raza. I'm probably saying it all fucked up. But basically, better the race by getting whiter. Right. So these are actual things that like occurred in history as far as whitening yourself. And that another person brought up, I do know specifically Asian immigrant or kids of Asian immigrants who were told, do not date anybody unless they are rich Asian or white. That was all. That's all they were allowed to date. Not a Latino, not a Black person, nothing else.
Definitely not a Black person.
Not nothing. Or definitely not. You know. So that does also exist. That whiteness is accessed or attempted to access. I think the thing is I don't subscribe to the idea that that's what specifically what they were doing. I subscribe to the idea. I don't think that they had those conversations. I think they were oblivious to it.
But even you know, even when you look at in our own community, we have these other groups. Like what was the name of the group? Was it damn it? Was it the Lynx? It's not the Lynx. Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill is a group where they don't want nobody that's dark as Candace or dark as you.
Well, that's different now.
But that's what the foundation was. But the foundation was, and even in some HBCUs, they did the brown paper bag test. They did it in a lot of Greek sororities and fraternities and things like that. So it's subconsciously in the back of our minds that we do these things. Now, we might not do them as much as we do today, but back in the day, when you go back, even if you go look at the whole situation in Plessy v. Ferguson, the reason why Plessy Ferguson worked is because Homer Plessy was lighter than me. He was damn near white. That was the reason why they sent Homer Plessy on those trains. I mean, this is historical. We've done this over and over and over again. Either we're going to pretend to be white, or we're trying to find a way to opt out of blackness to get away from oppression or white supremacy or whatever it is that is plaguing us as a community. You know what I mean? We individually make these situations happen for some reason. We'll try to, and look at Sammy Sosa, the baseball player. That motherfucker looks like a thumb. Okay, and he was Wesley Snipes dark. He looks a mess now.
And they put him in that Republican ad to scare white Latinos. I mean, to scare Latinos into thinking that black people are going to take over America if they don't first.
Yeah.
It's a real ad, by the way, if you haven't seen that, Candace. Dead serious. It's by Defenders of Trump, Defenders of the President, a Latino organization. They have Sammy Sosa.
That motherfucker look like my palm. He looked like my damn palm. That's what Sammy Sosa looked like now. He thought he was bleaching himself. And even Vibes Cartel, the reggae, the Jamaican singer, he did the same thing. Bleached his skin,
I don't know what he looks like. So
he don't look like nothing now. He look a mess.
Well, it's funny because I was just thinking about multiple times, because just getting back into black people, and that's another thing I was thinking about is the subconscious hatred. Not us specifically, but there's a subconscious hatred inside of a lot of people around their blackness. I'll give an example. Kodak Black, in his statement that he can't be with a dark-skinned girl. He said this multiple times. And I remember all the outrage. Everybody was upset. But then I kept listening to him. You know what he also said? He also said, I can't be with a dark-skinned girl because I'm dark. And dark
he said, look at me.
That don't look right.
Yeah.
So that means somebody also implanted into his mind that someone was dark skin. And now he's looking at relationships and trying to connect with people based off of he has to find somebody that's lighter than him.
Right.
Because what he is isn't good. And he doesn't want to have kids that are dealing with the same thing that he's clearly dealing with within himself.
Right.
Now that shit to me is scary when I hear stuff like that, but it's even scarier when I think we go on the attack. When we go on the attack with those situations, instead of being like, "Hey, bro, like your skin is beautiful too,"
Right.
They go on the defense and they grip harder.
Right.
Because now you're trying to take their identity. Now you're trying to take something away from them. The thing that they thought was going to save them, you're trying to take it away from them. So it's important too that we don't just have these conversations and go on the attack every time these people say things like that, because the reality is this: they don't know that is their own self-hate. They've been
absolutely
in their families, and then the society reinforces it, and then these people get into relationships, and then we want to know what the fuck is wrong with them.
Yeah. Here we go. Lamine says, I'm from Africa. Even though I believe our brothers in the West had the worst of the brunt, from what I see, skin lightening is way worse on the continent. That part I don't understand. And that is a huge issue over on the continent of Africa with skin bleaching and things like that. And I think there's so many different moving parts as to why we do those things, whether it be religion, whether it be our environment, whether it be our own self-hate. At the end of the day, it's just a big ball called white supremacy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep saying that. I don't want to keep saying that. But it's true. Yeah. Because we've been poisoned by it. We've been poisoned. Even you remember the opening scene in Malcolm X when he was putting the conch in his hair.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like even to that level.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It was not cool to have a natural. You weren't supposed to have a natural. You got to put that conch in your hair.
I love a lot of 1960s like music, movie documentaries and stuff. And when you'll see that's a very common one. Is like when they got signed to the label and they were ready to polish them up, they had to get a relaxer.
Yeah.
Like James Brown was one of the people. If you worked in his band, you had to get something. You had to get
a relaxer.
You
weren't gonna be with no afro. Not until he did Say It Loud. Then they all had afros. But before that, James Brown, the Famous Flames. You gotta have that conch.
See, I don't quite get why colorism is still so big among upper class blacks. It seems less important amongst working middle class blacks today. I don't really have a way to evaluate that. Maybe because I don't know enough upper class blacks to see that.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah,
because I live and work in working class areas and have my entire life, and it's pretty blatant there. So I think I tell that story here about when I worked at the after school program, and I had the girls, the 3 dark skinned black girls fawning over the Black and mixed girl. Yeah, I talked about that on here before. And I had to, like, basically stop them and address their issue. They kept in front of the other children. Oh, her hair is so pretty. She has good hair. And they just keep saying this in front of all the other children. So I had to these are high school students. So I had to pull them to the side. We had the conversation. Nobody had ever told them that good hair was a racist, colorist term. Nobody told them that. These are dark-skinned girls with kinky hair. No one. They have been told their hair was bad, and they just said, "Oh, my hair is bad," and that's just what it is. So we maybe talked for 15 minutes, and it blew their mind just in that 15 minutes. So that can exist in the working class communities, and if I hadn't talked about it then, they might not have ever heard it. When those same people will end up hating themselves, and people who hate themselves are not great to be in relationships with. I don't know if you know.
No, it's not.
I was gonna say, you guys, I have to get going, but I wanted to say before I leave, is there any questions or comments? I know we've been talking for almost an hour, but
about an hour.
Yeah, I do want to, just before I leave, to say, first of all, thank you guys for having me here.
Definitely.
And participating in the discussion. And if there's any comments or questions I don't see anybody questions yet, but if there's any comments or questions in the next 2 minutes, then I can, chime in about anything else about.
Yeah, but make sure you come back.
Come back to what?
Here.
Oh, y'all. This is a lot for me. I'll be honest.
Why not?
A different platform for me. So I don't know. I will come back, and I will probably come back later in months later. But I don't know if this is a different format for me, you guys. If the people who know me knows that I'm on a different format. I do holistic healing. I'm into a lot of other different things. So it's a great discussion. But I think that maybe I can be more of a support if there's things that maybe are more related that I can, talk more about. That's all. Y'all know y'all talked me off with that race stuff. I was like, listen, I don't even know what's going on now. We didn't gone all over to the place. So I was like,
what? Well, look, Dr. Briggs, you have to understand this. And I know you understand this because you're a very intelligent person.
It wasn't my ministry to that. That's all it was.
Hold on. And when you're in a relationship, if you don't understand race, you're going to end up lost. If you're going to be in an interracial relationship and you do not understand race and how that plays, because this is the thing I will give Tariq Nasheed credit about this. He said, I remember him saying a long time ago, he said that a lot of people that he was interacting with, it was like non-white dudes when he was writing those books, the first thing they started asking him about was relationships and dating interracially. So this is what people are thinking about when they're dating interracially. You know what I mean? So when you get into these situations, and look, I live in Portland. It's 90% white. I've been here for 30 years. I've dated white girls. Well, I ain't gonna say I've dated white girls before. I've hit it before, okay? And I'm, that's another TV show for another day. But even as a young guy, I actually understood what was going on because I grew up in a pro-black household. My grandmother taught me the game. But I seen certain things. I started seeing certain things that was like, okay, wait a minute. Whoa, this is a little bit different. And it's not because they white, but it's because their culture has been we've been dictated towards from their culture in a certain kind of way. So I had to navigate around that, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. You know what I mean? So I had to make a decision on who I was going to date immediately when I was a teenager. Now, look, everybody's asking where you at. Now, you talking about how you ain't going to come back for months.
I have a YouTube channel that I'm just starting. So if you can follow me on Instagram right now, Dr. Glam 3. I am Goddess Light TV is my YouTube channel, but it's really just up and coming. And I'm not on Twitter. Is that the new thing on Twitter? Y'all see so many handles. I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
Give them your Instagram again.
Dr. Glam 3. It's in my name.
Oh yeah, it's right there in the name, Dr. Glam 3.
I'll put it there so y'all can see. And I would love if there's any questions or comments. I'm actually doing a real life relationship talk in August this month. So in a couple of weeks, I think I need to get that flyer out. But if you go on to my website or Instagram page, Dr. Glam 3, you'll see that. And I'm actually going to have a talk about gender roles in relationships.
Okay.
That's going to be really interesting to talk about. So, and then I also have a 7-day vegan challenge. I'm gonna throw that out there. We're doing 7-day healthy vegan challenge. That'll be coming up in a couple weeks. If you need any support or just anything with emotional support services, please feel free. I want to be of service to anybody in the community who needs it.
Do you still have We Rise?
I do. You can email me if they want to. I'm launching my website actually the end of this month. That's my goal. Been working on it and everything, but it's been a challenge. So I'm just excited that things are moving along. But you can also email me at we.risellc.services@gmail.com. So, but if you DM me, I'm quick with the DMs. I'll get back at you.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and I'll talk to you. We'll be talking to you in about a couple hours or so.
Okay. We're gonna we stay on this shit for like 3 hours.
We still on.
Listen, I'm not gonna be on here all day, but I will thank you guys, and you guys have a blessed one. Everybody on here, thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Dr. Briggs. All right, bye. We done ran her off.
That was you. I was trying, and you would not let up. That was you.
Look.
Just for the record, it's on video. It was Kenney running.
It was not. I did not do anything.
And let me say this, by the way. He told me sometimes it's hard to get Black women to come on the show, and this fool just ran one off. Look at this shit.
I did not do anything. All I did was ask certain questions.
Okay.
When it comes to relationships, and Vida, you playing games because we had these conversations all the time.
No, I said everything. I said where I stood. I was very clear on where I stood. I said I would never be with a white person having them. And I also said that I understand that I have a political perspective that a lot of other Black people just may not have that same sort of perspective. I get it. And that's what I didn't agree that they were only with those guys. I got your point though. I thought you make a really good point as far as why would they skip past and not acknowledge all these other red flags? And I think the red flags were there. My take was that I think the red flags were there. I don't think that they had a real political perspective to identify them. How is Tamara going to identify it when her father is white?
Right. But my whole thing is that she's too old to not be able to identify because she's been living long enough to not know.
But you can't put an age on that.
No, you can't. And what the thing about it was I wasn't saying, and I wasn't trying to denigrate because I didn't want this to turn. I wasn't trying to say all Black men, Black women. No, I don't do all of that. That's that incel shit.
When I asked the question, I realized that's why, if you notice, when I asked that question, I switched to, are you talking about these specific people?
Yeah, I'm talking about them two specific people because I thought it was, because this is the thing, as a person that pays attention, and a lot of people get mad when we say, oh, it's not always about race. Motherfucker, please. It's always about race, especially when money is involved. When I looked at that situation, Tamara and Eve, I seen Eve's situation first because that was like last year. Mm-hmm. When I seen that, I was like, I didn't even know she was married to a white dude. I had no idea that Eve was married to a white dude. I did not know that because she hadn't been around. She had been making music. Last time I saw Eve was in barbershop, and that was in like 2003.
Oh no, I remember she married him.
Yeah, I didn't know. So when I seen that, I was like, that's interesting. Now, could you say the same thing? Because this is how I know that these people knew that they were racist. There's been other women that married white men. I think Janet Jackson married a white dude that's a billionaire. And then divorced him and took half of everything, had a baby and took half of everything. But she married a white dude too. I never heard those stories. But when it comes to these two, it kept popping up. It kept coming up.
You're saying because I'll say Tamara, I think she lets a lot of shit slide. She does. Yeah. He got mad at her because she asked if he wanted mayo on his sandwich.
But look, this is the thing. Sage Steele, who used to work for ESPN.
I hate her.
It's the same thing with her. It's the same thing with these Black people. And I'm not going to say it's just Black women because Black men do this shit too. It's just that right now we're talking about Black women. So that Sage Steele, the same thing. Her husband's a fucking racist. But she keeps making excuses. That's the same thing Tamara was doing. So that leads me to believe, I know for a fact that they racist. It's just that you done got caught.
You remember there was a football player. I can't remember his name, but I remember at one point he was accused of rape, and I think the charges were dismissed.
Yeah.
The Black girl that had charged him or had accused him.
Uh-huh.
said I couldn't have did that because I don't even mess with black girls.
Whoa, I didn't see that. No, that was a basketball player.
I know. Was it basketball? I thought it was a football player.
I thought there was a basketball player that got accused, and then he said something greasy about black women. It was last year, wasn't it?
I don't know. I'm talking about years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't know about that one.
Like a long time ago. So then, I want to say maybe a few years ago, what happened was he came out saying that she was raped. He married a white woman, and then he came out saying that how racist that she was threatening to call the cops on him. All this other.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so he was like. So he was basically upset. I mean, he's like all surprised that he's with this racist white woman, but you just dissed black women a few years before that. And so I thought that was interesting.
That is very interesting.
This racist white person, you didn't realize it, and you're like, but you dissed black women for this white woman.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I didn't know about that. That's bad. That's horrible. That's the thing about it is like, man, so many people. It's kind of hard to put into words, and that's what white supremacy does. Like, it'll scramble your brains up, like the basketball player that ripped his knee up yesterday. And when they asked him about kneeling and Black Lives Matter, he was mumbling and babbling and all this other kind of shit. And it's like, dude, just answer the question. Mean what you say and say what you mean. You know what I mean? Like, what is going on where it has infected our brains? And we only hear about these things because these people are celebrities, athletes, things like that. This shit happens in real life. I used to live next door to this dude. There was a brother. He lived downstairs from me, and he was dating this white girl. They lived downstairs from me for like 2 or 3 years. And one day, it's summertime. I'm in the house, and I'm doing whatever, and I keep hearing somebody calling somebody a nigga. I'm like, whoa, that sounds like a white person. What is going on here? So I immediately come outside, and it was a woman's voice, but I don't give a fuck. Okay? You can get that work, too, if you're a white supremacist. I don't care. So I go outside, and the brother is standing outside, but I don't get in people's business. But what I did tell him, I said, hey, man, we're not doing that over here. If that's your woman and if you let her talk to you like that, y'all going to have to go somewhere else. Y'all got to go down the street. I said, because one, my daughter's in the house, and I don't want my daughter hearing some white woman calling you a nigger. Whenever she get mad, she call you a nigger. I said, you need to check that. You need to figure that out. Now, I'm not telling him he had to hit her or none of that kind of goofy shit. But I'm like, dude, how the hell you going to live up in you think because you land up with a white woman that she ain't going to roll over and call you a nigga tomorrow? Like, what's wrong with you? And I think that's the thing that Eve and Tamara forgot. They forgot that just because somebody has break your walls and blow your back out, that he won't roll over and call you a nigga. And it's the same thing with these black basketball players and these athletes. They have this idea. I've seen somebody put up it was a post about Blake Griffin, and it showed his wife is getting like $258,000 a month in child support. I was like, damn. So then I did a little bit of research. This same woman also has a baby by Matt Leinart, but she ain't getting nowhere near that much.
That's right.
She ain't getting nowhere near that much money. Now, I'm not saying that this white woman is racist. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, I guarantee you somewhere down the line, she done said something greasy.
But Blake Griffin is another one. His mom is white. So his radar is gonna be his detector is not right. Because he's so used to certain things that he's conditioned and oblivious to. He's desensitized to it. So the things that we would be more sensitive to, he's going to be more desensitized to.
Right. Hold on. Oh, okay. Wait. I got something I want to show everybody because I want to. I don't want to shift, but there's something that me and you talked about earlier, and I want to show. This is a topic I was hoping that Dr. Briggs would stay on so we could talk about this topic, but
we'll talk about it. Let's go.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay.
Here we go.
Why you do that?
You see it?
Yeah, I see it.
You see that?
Yeah, men's fixation on half-assing women is so trash. Half on the rent, half on vacation. You're going to get half my sexual potential too. I'm only nasty when I don't got to pay for shit.
Yeah.
So it bothers me a lot when I see black women say things like this, mostly because it's so unrealistic. So many of our relationships are not going to look like a fucking fairy tale. And I think that we have this belief that, this is what masculinity is. This is what a man is supposed to do for his woman. Take her on vacation, but she never has to pay. But that's what I was saying earlier about black relationships can't mimic that. Most of us don't like that. Most of us are working class. Most of us can't afford to take a vacation. Most of us can't afford to go to the fucking doctor.
Right.
And that's, you know, so we gotta think about things like that. Like not everybody can just go on vacation, and most of us are working class. And on top of that, that wage gap, the wealth gap between white people and black people is increasing. That gap is getting bigger.
And that's what that's the first thing I started thinking. It was like, why do we always start talking, having these surface ass conversations, and it always boils down to money and sex. So for a man, and I'm not
transactional. That's the problem.
Right. And I'm not a dude that's saying that, you know, if you're a man and you're gonna date a woman, man, you shouldn't have to pay for nothing. That's not even realistic. That's not realistic at all. And if you think that you're gonna date a woman and not pay for anything, you're a clown. You're stupid. But when we get to that level where, from a woman's perspective, when she's saying what she's saying, for me, that looks weird to me, because I'm like, well, the only thing you're talking about is coochie. You ain't talking about, I'm not going to get your attention. I'm not going to get your intimacy. I'm not going to get dinner. I'm not going to get all these things. It's just basically, if I got to pay for stuff, I'm not giving you no coochie. Okay, well, how about this? We'll just be together and I'll go fuck somebody else. You know what I mean? That turns into a toxic relationship. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I feel like when we turn relationships transactional in general, to me, it feels like we don't understand the importance of connection, and we don't understand the importance of empathy. We don't understand the importance of actually being able to be a partner. Because it's more like, when I think about marriage, for example, the way I always think about it is something funny enough, my dad told me. He said, you got to think about it. If you marry somebody for life, you say it's for life. If that person has a stroke, you might have to wipe their ass the rest of their life.
Right.
That's how much you got to love that person. That's how much you got to be dedicated to that person. You got to be willing to wipe their ass for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You can't. You know? Uh-oh. That connection piece is going to be more important. How good your pussy is don't matter.
It don't matter. It's not transactional. You know,
are you able to support your partner?
Mario's. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go and finish. I was just going to say Mario's in the building.
Oh, what's up, Mario?
Most of us are one sickness or job loss away from the poorhouse, and that's the truth.
Exactly.
That's even black people, wealthy black people.
So how can black women have this expectation of black men to be able to perform economically when we don't have the economical ability to do it? Like,
right.
That's impossible.
Right. It doesn't make any sense. So the man is supposed to provide and a woman is supposed to nurture. It's more complex than that. It's more complex than that, I know, but aspiring to that, we'd have less problems. And that's the thing, is that
I don't agree with that. Put that back up there.
Okay. Go ahead.
So go ahead. Finish your point, and then I'm gonna go.
No. I was gonna say that, sometimes, and I don't necessarily agree with just that basic explanation, but when it comes to dealing with how we deal with each other in relationships, sometimes we get influenced by all these moving parts, all these things. And I see it on social media. I see it on Twitter a lot. And it's not just that young lady saying that, if you only going to give me half, then I ain't giving you this and all that. No, it's even the way we interact with each other outside of the sexual arena. Yeah. You know what I mean? With the whole quote unquote $200 dates and all this kind of stuff. And like you said, when you start talking about black economics and where black people are in this country, we ain't got shit. So to be even having that conversation is kind of stupid, because because one day you'll tweet about you're not giving up half, then the next day you're talking about how, man, I can't find no job and my unemployment is about to run out. Okay, well, it can't be both. You know what I mean? It can't be both. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be one or the other. Like, how about this? And I believe in this. Well, if I'm gonna date a woman,
I want to go back to that other comment.
Okay. Oh, okay. Wait. Let me go get it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason I'm saying why I don't agree with that point, for a few reasons. One, where did that come from? How do we know that? Like, why is that the automatic assumption? I don't know why we have this assumption that providing has to look a certain way and nurture looks a certain way, and it's just designated based off of your gender. There is no evidence of that being true, because the reality is this. Yeah, maybe it was made sense for the man. The only way our family could eat is if the man went out there and hunted something and brought it back to the house while the woman kept the family safe. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. But society has changed so much since then. Women are in the working are working now. We're in the labor market now. We're able to provide, right?
Right.
The thing is, I think that my other issue with that statement is that it discounts the nurturing ability of men. And that really bothers me because we don't even realize men are also nurturers. When men take care of their children, especially as babies, their oxytocin levels matches the mother who just gave birth to them. The father's oxytocin levels can match that. They can be just as bonded as the biological mother. So
Lamin wants to.
Men are also nurturers. We cannot discount that. So to say, oh no, just the women are the nurturers. No, men are also nurturers. Men can hug and hold their children too when they cry. They hold their wives and girlfriends when they cry. They're also nurturers. In fact, because you're my partner, I expect you to be nurturing. That doesn't mean when we hear nurturing, we think it's some pussy ass position where you just watering flowers or some shit. And that's, but really nurturing means are we connecting and making sure we're holding each other when needed. So I don't like the idea that we have this, and especially for Black people, because our relationship, who said that? Like, where do we get this concept that this is what men are supposed to do, this is what women are supposed to do? In way. It's about how that society can function. There was another point up here by Rahel Biru, I hope I'm saying your name right. And it says, not sure if it has to be based on gender that way, but a household should be able to run on one income and the other person runs the house. That's another fantasy. That's a complete fantasy. A lot of things change because of the economy. Industrialization changed the way America has functioned as far as being able to work. Because remember, before industrialization, people worked on single family farms. You had a farm, or you were a merchant, or you were a blacksmith, right?
Right.
When we got with industrialization, we started mass producing more products. So now you need more people in the labor force. Now, not only, now we need men working outside of the home.
Yeah.
But everybody worked at home. If you were a blacksmith, it was probably at your house, right?
Right.
Everybody worked at home. Men were also with their kids all day. They worked together and farmed, right?
Right.
How farmers' kids, they wasn't going to school and shit because they was working. But they were, and the mothers usually were their teachers, is really what happened. So we can't have this idea. The way we see gender roles, or the way that we see how a household should be run, that changes based off of what's needed for that time. What is needed now? Right now, it is impossible for one person to work.
Yeah, you would have to have, and I live in Portland, you in LA. In order to live on one income, and I live on one income, I live by myself. I have a 16-year-old daughter. But to live on one income, living in Portland, you need to make at least $60,000 to $70,000 a year.
And what's affordable is subjective, right?
Right.
I might say, well, if the two of us can live off $100,000 a year, we're good. And somebody else might be like, nah, I gotta go to work. If we only making $100,000 a year, I gotta go start a business. I gotta go to work. I gotta do something because this ain't working for me.
Yeah, you have to adapt to your environment.
Right. So, what is the goal of that family? What is the best situation for our household? I can't say what your household will works for you. I don't have those circumstances. Black people can't look at the circumstances of white people's households. We don't have a lot of those luxuries and a lot of those privileges. We can't do that. What works for our household? What is our goal? The fact, because with technology now, it's not as difficult to run your house like it was before. No, you don't need a person sitting there at a desk doing all your books all day. There's an app that'll do that shit for you right now. Your bank account do the shit for you. I can't balance a checkbook. Don't need to. Bank account right there. Pull it up. Oh, that's what I got.
Right.
That's how. And most of us probably don't even own checkbooks anymore, right? So those things change. So how you run your household is dependent upon the situation and the environment and your goals of that family.
Right. Stand out with that without handouts. Man, what's up, fam? I haven't seen you in the comment section in a while. He says, real talk, that went the way of Leave It to Beaver. That's that's true. That went away in the 1940s, 1950s, the so-called suburban lifestyle. If you live in the inner city, you're gonna need two incomes. That's just the way it is. And I can only speak from a Black perspective because I don't have any privilege like white people. You know what I mean? So I don't have access to certain things. I don't have access to wealth. I don't have access to multiple properties. I don't have access to generational wealth where you can live off one income because I own my dad's house, my auntie's house, and all these other different people. I can't do that. Let's say, here we go. It says, Rahel Biru, he says, I mean, maybe we don't need nuclear households, but like village kibbutz style situations.
I mean, that's an option. I'm a strong believer that we can develop strategies of what's the best for our people. Once that what's happening isn't best for our people. The problem
absolutely not.
right now we're still married to this idea of the American dream that doesn't even apply to us. We're still married to these fantasy ideas of relationships that can't apply to us, don't apply to most people, and definitely can't apply to us. So until we realize that, we can't even begin to develop a strategy. We can't even say, okay, now how can we reorganize education? How can we reorganize protection, community protection? How can we reorganize the way that our economics and our households are run in order to achieve a goal for our society? Maybe that's, yeah. I mean, maybe. I think I'm a strong believer, and I think, and I've been saying this lately, and I've been saying this on other shows, I'm a strong believer that Black people are pretty much fed up with the education system. And I think a lot of Black people are looking into alternative ways of teaching their children.
Yes.
We're watching, especially with this COVID thing. But I can't tell you how many parents I've talked to who are like, I love my kid being at home. I'm at home, they're at home. They're actually doing better working with me at home because their teacher has been traumatizing them all day, traumatizing your Black kid all day at school, and then sending them notes home talking about they don't know how to sit down or they don't know how to behave or whatever. Your teacher's been fucking with them all day.
Right.
They at home, and all of a sudden, like, man, ain't nothing what the teacher just said. Teacher said, do was this, and this. You've been sitting here doing your work quietly with no problem.
Right. Well, so Lamin, you said Japan is highly modernized. They have a strategy on how to support the household, full-time worker and part-time worker, but we ain't in Japan.
But I think he's just bringing up like as one of the options of how
right.
And that's actually an interesting option.
It is. I mean, and a lot of times I know a lot of people that live like that. You know what I mean? Like my boy, he doesn't work full time. He works part time, but he also has a business on the side. But his wife works full time, and that's what works for them. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you feel about? I'm just getting some light on me. It's getting dark in here. What do you feel about stay-at-home dads? What do you think about that? Because I know people have a lot of judgment that men shouldn't be at home at all.
I know one. My boy lives in Orange County. He's a stay-at-home dad. They lived up here in Portland. They both worked, but she got a job offer that's paying her ridiculous amounts of money in Huntington Beach. Mm-hmm. So they moved to Huntington Beach. Now she works in Long Beach for the MTA. Okay. But the money that she's making, she told him, you ain't even got to work. Now they got 3 girls and they're all ages 12 and under. It's 1, 12, 10, and the baby is I think 2. And and this is my boy. He has expressed to me he would like to work, but this is why I tell them all the time. So they're both my boy Eric, he's 30, 31, and his wife is 27, 28. Mm-hmm. This is the thing, their relationship is so good because they actually communicate. He has communicated to her that, you know what, I would like to work. So this is what she said. She said, let's open a business then. Now it's up to him to figure out what it is he wants to do. He hasn't figured that out yet.
When I think about shit like that too, because one, I would love if I could have my own business and work at home. Most of the time, I would love that because I would. So he's in Huntington Beach, looking at how to open a barbershop. He's going through Long Beach. He's always driving around LA trying to figure stuff out. He is humble enough because I don't know. You remember back in the day on like Phil Donahue, they used to always have those shows where his wife makes more money than him and he just doesn't like it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's not my boy. And I told somebody this once before. They said, well, what if your girl make more money than you? I said, more vacations for me. The fuck are you talking about? It's more vacations for me. My ex made way more money than me. You know what? I had a whole lot of fun too. And it just wasn't on her dime. It's just that we didn't have that dynamic where, well, I need you to pay for this or you got to pay for that. If I got it, you got it. Yeah.
That's just, but everybody's not like that. You know what I mean? Because I did things for her that she never had done. You know what I mean? I supported her in so many different ways. Towards a lot of people, they don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I get that because I think so much we get caught up in we don't communicate about money enough. So I will say
we don't at all. We don't.
And to be honest, we don't even communicate money with ourselves very well. The time I wouldn't check my bank account. I'll be scared to check my bank account.
Man, like some money just disappeared that you didn't know.
I had to get an app to text me my bank account. I would not look.
Yeah, I check my bank account once a week, every week. I don't know why. I'm just one of those people. You know what I mean? So Mario was a stay-at-home dad. He said I was one for years, but only because I had a felony. Now, That's a different.
He said before that, he said he had a stay-at-home dad better have a good reason. But what's
so? Well, a good. This is just my opinion. Now, Mario want to jump on, brother. You know the avenue. I don't know where you at, bruh. I don't know what you're doing, so you can jump on. But in my opinion, if me and my wife or my girlfriend or whatever, we have this conversation, and we understand each other's finances, we understand each other, and we have open conversations about finances. And say she got a job making $250,000 a year. And I made 70 grand, and we had to move to another city. And she was like, well, don't even worry about going to work. I'll work. And then you figure out a way that we can make some other streams of income. Cool. I'd rather be hustling than working for somebody else anyway.
Yeah. So but I think, so let's do this. What if it's a dad doesn't have a hustle? Just his job is to take care of the house, clean, take care of the kids, make sure the day-to-day homework is done. The gardener comes on time, all that stuff.
I can't just sit in the house.
So this is the thing that's interesting about that. You have men that expect women to do that.
I don't know why.
My belief is this. Well, I would say how I believe. One, I would never be with a stay-at-home dad.
Right.
Because I'm a strong believer everybody should be bringing income in the house after the age of 12.
Right.
You should have a business. You got to be doing something. I just always had that belief that you learn about money. You learn how to get money at a very early age. I started building. I had my first business when I was, in middle school, selling candy and all this kind of shit. That's what count. That's how I feel. Gameplay fair. That's how I feel. The same way. I don't check my bank account because I don't need the type of negativity in my life. But I had to get an app to text me because I was doing a little too much, and then I wouldn't realize I got the alert from my bank. And I don't like that alert.
It's funny when Mario, I want to put this back up there. Mario said he was a stay-at-home dad because he had a felony on his record. I had to go through the same thing. But you know what, Mario, I wouldn't necessarily call that being a stay-at-home dad. You know what I'm saying? You were not allowed to play in the game. You know what I'm saying? You weren't allowed to enjoy the game because
that's a little bit different because you were not because this is what you felt your purpose was or what you wanted to do. It was the circumstances of the situation.
Yeah, you weren't allowed.
If dad is unemployed at the time, it makes total sense that he would stay at home with the kids. Why are we paying for childcare? You have the kids.
Yeah.
And also I was going to say something. And jobs work so differently now. Everybody works a regular 9 to 5. I know people who work at jobs may start at 6 p.m.
Right.
Right. And I mean, good jobs. I'm not talking about low level, working class jobs. I'm talking about pretty good jobs, right? So, and on top of it, with the gig economy, a lot of people are doing things in that type of realm, right? So people might be able to create their schedules a little, have better schedules or different schedules. There's so many things that can go into, how a household should be run. So it could be, you have options. I just personally don't believe that a person who's fully able to work has the mental capacity to work or bring in an income to build a business. It just doesn't make sense to me to be sitting there.
Right. See, Mario was productive. He potty trained all of his kids, cleaned up his wife and his credit and other stuff, and tried to be productive. And when you've been locked out of the game, and this was what I call it, because I went through the same thing. I got a felony. I picked up a felony on my record and got indicted in 2005. And from that time till about 2008, I had to figure out what I was going to do. Now, I didn't have a wife. So, Mario, you had one up on me. I didn't have a wife. It was just me. That's when I went back to school. I tell people this all the time, the only reason why I went back to college is because I had a felony on my record and I had to show that I've been doing something. I just so happened to start liking it and got a master's degree and a bachelor's degree. But I couldn't get a job. I had a felony on my record, and the type of felony I had and the type of record that I had, wasn't nobody fucking with me. You know what I'm saying? And this is during the George Bush era. So I was locked out the game.
I like what Rahel said. Housework isn't just sitting in the house. Depends on how much is going on, how many kids there are. You should definitely have some occupation, maybe a charity or a mentor kind of thing. So I agree with that. However, me personally, I could never be a housewife, mostly because in my head, I don't want to be sitting around the house just cleaning up shit. It's not. I say sitting around the house and it's extra out. It's not sitting. You're working. But I just can't do that. I want to be in a position to hire somebody to do that shit. They come in once or twice a week. I just have to keep it clean between them, and they make sure the baseboards are nice and white, or what. I'm not. I just can't do that kind of life. Now, I will say this: I would love to work from home. So I can with my kids. Now that's part of staying at home as a parent that I like is being able to be with your children. I look at my niece. My brother is a full-time entrepreneur. His girlfriend's a full-time entrepreneur. They live together, have a daughter. And I watch how, because they don't have to go to an office every day. They work from home most of the time. Or my brother has an office that he for himself, but he doesn't always have to be there. He can stay at home or whatever. My niece is so much more advanced.
Yes.
Than she would have been in most preschool. Actually, I used to be a preschool teacher. If she was in preschool, she would not be as advanced as she is now. So because, in fact, she has a teacher that another online, that teaches her alphabet, how to read, all that kind of stuff. And the teacher's impressed with how advanced she is because she has a mom that can stay at home and go over this shit with her. This is a part of their day to day. I would love to be able to. That's the kind of position I want to be in. I think my brother's able to do that. That's a beautiful position to be in. But as far as all that housework shit, that's shit for the birds. I'm sorry.
That's for the birds. I mean, and that was one of the benefits. Like my daughter is doing really well in school now because when I became a single dad when she was 1.5, and I got the felony the same year, I had to be at home with her. One, I couldn't get a job, so I started going to school and started hustling on the side. So I was around her every single day, potty trained her, all this other kind of stuff. So then once I did start going back to work, once I graduated and got, I had little jobs. When you in college, you take a job here or there. You know what I'm saying? But when I did go back to work, she was in 3rd grade. You know what I'm saying? And I still made sure that my day was designed to where at nighttime I'm at home. I don't work swing shift. I don't do that shit. And I don't work grave because I want to be at home when she gets home from school so we can have conversations, so we can eat dinner together, so we can go over homework, so we can just have conversations and interact. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say also, the other reason I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom is totally like those women essentially have a full-time job in this current day. I guess you mean being a mom as a full-time mom? I guess. Well,
I think what he's saying is the things that come along with being a stay-at-home mom is more than just. It's a lot, and it is. It is.
It's a lot of shit I don't want to do. So
exactly.
That's the thing. But the other thing is this: the reason why I have a thing about bringing in an income, and everyone expects to do that, and because I also want to make sure I'm also in a position to always take care of myself. Period. I was a nanny, full-time nanny for years. And I worked for a particular family that I worked for in Redondo Beach. And it was a mixed family. The mother worked very hard as far as around the house and shit. Me personally, I was a nanny and I worked there, but mostly to work with the kids so she could literally have time to exercise and do all her beauty stuff. So by the time her husband came home, she looks good. This is real. Yeah. What she told me. I found out after their separation. But so what ended up happening though is they would get into an argument or a fight or something. He'd fly out maybe for where he worked sometimes he had to fly out places. So he'd fly out to wherever he was going for work. Then he'd cut off the credit cards and the bank cards.
Oh damn.
She still had the kids. Right.
Shit.
Right. I mean, and I remember one day I asked her, we were talking just casually, and I said, what did you, I said, because I know you're a stay-at-home mom, but was there anything else that you ever wanted to do or aspired to be? She said, no, just a wife and a mother. Which people tell me shit like that, I think that's weird. Like, who are you outside of being a wife and a mother? Because what happens when your kids are grown or your husband leave you or die? Who are you then? So I never understand your identity being wrapped up with somebody else. So
that's some nefarious, cold ass shit.
So her only goal was to be a wife and mother, and she was a wife and mother to an abusive man. Now,
and she didn't even know she was being abused.
Didn't know. Well, she eventually figured it out, and they were going to therapy and all that shit, but it wasn't working. He got worse and worse, and then eventually they separated. But when they separated, she had to figure out how she was going to survive because they were still going to court and shit they had to go to court and shit for the money. For whatever she was going to get out of him. So she didn't have really much. She didn't get a job. What was she going to get a job doing? The last job she's
never done anything.
She met him when she was a bartender.
Oh, wow.
So she had to find another job. She can't be a bartender when she has kids now. She can't be out all night. She ain't got nobody to watch the kids. She couldn't afford me no more. And I had moved on with my life. I was too. I wasn't working for them no more. I had to find something to do. So she wouldn't be able to afford me anyway. So she's not a wife. She's still a mother. She has no skills. During those years that she was, not working, she hadn't been doing anything. So now she's trying to find a job doing the most basic thing that's not going to pay her enough to take care of them kids the way that she's used to.
Yeah.
So I never want to be in that position. I never, ever, ever want to be in it. Not to say that a man is, well, people say this thing where they'll say, well, you just have to get with the right person. Shit happens in relationships.
Yeah, no.
You can't guarantee that this person's going to be the same person you married. You can't guarantee that you're going to have the same goals and paths and ways of thinking by a certain point in your marriage.
And not only that, people get set in their ways. You know what I'm saying? So, and I know this because I'm becoming the older dude. I'm getting set in my ways. So if you've allowed me to do these things for the last 10, 11, 12 years, I work, you stay at home. Then when you come to me and say, okay, well, I want to work now, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right. It disrupts what we've already been doing.
Yeah, we already have a system going. Why are you disrupting the system? We've been doing this dance and now you want to do something else. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't understand that. And I've never been married, so I can't. Mario can speak about this more, and T, because he can speak more about this because that's the lifestyle that they live, and I think personally they lucky. You know what I'm saying, to have those two incomes and have another head in the house to help think about certain things with kids and all that kind of stuff. But if you're gonna live in this lifestyle, like I talked about my boy, for example, him and his wife, and they're younger people, and I always tell them they're the most successful young people that I know. You know what I'm saying? Because they understand each other, and I've never heard or seen, and me and him talk about a lot of things. He's never said, I don't want to do this anymore, because it's almost like he gave himself an option. They were actually able to compromise on, okay, yeah, you're going to work, but I want to do something. I understand you don't want me out of the house working, so I want to be able to do something. So she says, well, what about let's start a business? Now it's up to him to figure out what it is he want to do. Now he didn't kick around all kinds of ideas to me. But a lot of people don't have those conversations to compromise in their relationships about certain things, which goes all the way back to what we were just talking about 20 minutes ago about people saying, if you ain't going to pay for something and all that bullshit. Right. Well, if you in a relationship and you've had a conversation and you have an understanding and a compromise with each other, you would never have that conversation. Now, I'll say this. The people that have those conversations never have anybody. They're never in a relationship, but they always have...
you're only gonna get, but like the girl who said sex potential or whatever the fuck she was talking about.
They don't never have anybody. So you're always talking about how...
Why are you in a relationship with somebody that you would get half of yourself to?
Because they're not in a relationship and they don't understand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you're in a relationship, then you're going to have these compromising conversations and you're going to have to understand each other. You guys are going to be together.
I want to answer this question by Lamine. Is it Lamin or Lamine? I hope I'm saying your name right. Can you be expected to be a stay-at-home mom if you work at home, online, etc.? Just want to poke at the minds a bit. That's a great question. So when I say stay-at-home mom, I'm thinking more on the lines of doing household chores. So that's what I was saying. You do what you have to do. Now, granted, whatever my circumstances are, maybe we don't have a person that can come run through the house every 2 weeks. Every other week. Every other day or whatever, right?
Right.
Be the lifestyle we're able to live. I'm realistic. I was speaking in the most ideal terms. It might be that if I'm working at home, I got to do all the housework shit. But my whole thing is I don't want to be doing it by myself. And I'm really as a nanny, one of the skill sets I learned is teaching babies how to clean up. So a lot. Yeah. So I will say this. I think if I were to be able to stay at home, whether stay at home mom or working from home mom, I do believe that I have certain skill sets from being a nanny that would help me a lot.
Right.
So, but I'm realistic is my point. Like, yeah, I might have to do the housework shit. That's just life. I have to do the housework shit now. I can't pay nobody to do my shit now. My kid, in fact, my mom's going to come out here this week and help me reorganize my whole apartment. Just so I can, because I got to do the shit. I can't afford to pay nobody to come here and organize my apartment. I got to call my mama.
Right.
So I'm realistic. So, yeah. I definitely think that, you can be expected to stay at home mom, or you could not expect it based off of what your circumstances are. For me personally, ideally, I love to hire somebody to come in twice a week.
Yeah.
And the thing about in LA, at least, it's not expensive to get somebody to come clean your house. It really isn't. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, not at all. You can find somebody to do that really cheap. And yeah, so I know people who do it now, but my apartment's small. I would feel like a fool hiring somebody to come to my studio apartment.
So let me plug something real quick.
Okay.
The masks are here, just in case you guys didn't know, and do not use it to rob anybody, because I don't want nobody contacting us, the Champagne Sharks, because you wouldn't rob somebody wearing a Champagne Sharks mask. Okay, but go to Redbubble, you'll see the mask. I don't know where you just go.
I have to find my lighter.
The Champagne Sharks masks are here. You can find them on Redbubble. I'm not sure if maybe Mario can answer the question about the mugs. I'm not sure if the mugs are ready or whatever. But what we got going on here? What are you talking about? But if you do rob the bank with a Champagne Sharks mask and you get away with it, you owe us some money. So share.
Okay, here
Do we ship to Japan? I think we do ship to Japan. You have to ask T. If you follow T on Twitter, just hit up T and ask him. And I'm sure that I think it comes up to like $13, something like that. Man, Jay, you got to get an air conditioner. I'm tired of having this conversation with you. You still ain't got an air conditioner? It's warm in Portland right now. You tripping.
You go to Home Depot. They still open. Go buy you a air conditioner. That's where I got mine. I'm sitting in front of it now.
Yeah, man, you tripping, man.
I like, okay, Rahel Biru or Biru. Stay-at-home mom is also like house planner at the highest competency they could. I guess, yeah. They are also house planners.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things that I wouldn't want folks solely to fall on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want my partner to also be a part of that. I'm a strong believer in the team spirit thing, because that's just how I am. I believe that, if we're all on the same page as a group, as a family, we're a team. Me and my partner.
Yeah.
And so we talk about, because there might be things he's better skilled at than I am. I'm not doing our taxes. If I can avoid it, I hire people now. But he might want that runs that sort of shit, right? Where there might be certain things that I'm better skilled at, So like I'm really great in community and organizing events in the community. So maybe that's something we want to do in the community. Now I'm able to build that connection. Whatever. So the thing is like, it just sort of I don't believe
in like we divvy up these certain things that we only a certain of us do. Like, okay, Kenny, Vida, you got to make sure that the bathroom is clean. Kenny, you do. I believe in if you see some shit that's fucked up, fix it.
No, that's different though. That's your day to day.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like the days when you have to go in there and spend the whole day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if it's something spilled or don't leave your clothes on the floor. No, basic. That's just basic household.
Yeah.
But you're right, as far as planning and running the household and all that stuff, yeah, that's also what stay-at-home parents typically do. But when you have working parents, typically they have to work together, figure out how they're going to either divide up the work or work together on each thing.
You got to be a certain age to understand this. Would stand out without handouts. That's from Married with Children. Whoa, Bundy! You don't remember that? Oh my God, that's so funny.
I did watch Married with Children, but I don't remember everything.
I remember somebody today was on Twitter, just a side conversation. Somebody on Twitter today was saying that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is the most toxic show. I'm like, dude, It's Always Sunny is Sesame Street compared to fucking Married with Children. Married with Children is the most toxic show ever on TV. If it came on TV today, it wouldn't make it a weekend.
I think I Love Lucy is the most toxic show.
Yeah, I Love Lucy is toxic too. So is The Honeymooners. The Honeymooners is very toxic.
It's been the whole time being racist to Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
It's been the whole show just being racist to Ricky the whole time.
The whole show.
Then they have this angry Latino guy. They got the hot-blooded Latino.
Yeah.
Screaming at his wife. Telling her, you can't do shit. Like, bitch, like, let her go do some. She's more talented. You can't even sing, nigga. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, Ricky couldn't sing worth a fuck.
Couldn't sing, couldn't act, couldn't do shit. Lucy was clearly the star. He was holding her back. That's a toxic ass show. I'm watching Golden.
Oh yeah,
toxic. I love old TV shows, by the way. So I watch them all.
See, we need to have. I want to have Jamila on because Jamila loves Golden Girls, and there was an episode I didn't know that it wasn't Golden Girls because Golden Girls had a spinoff show, but I didn't remember that because I was like 10 years old when it happened. and they had an episode with Don Cheadle, and they were talking about the Confederate flag.
I saw that on in Twitter, people talking about it, but I didn't know.
Yeah, see that I'm the one that originally posted that, just like you with the Smokey Robinson. I never got credit for that. So that I thought it was Golden Girls, but it's not. It was a spinoff show called Golden Palace.
Oh, I actually heard of that.
Yeah, and it only lasted like one season. Yeah. Oh yeah, Married with Children was very bold for the 90s. Even Martin, I give Martin a break because I understood the dynamics, but Martin was a cold motherfucker. How would any woman date Martin?
Martin, I didn't get, but it was that was. But the funny part was the most of the show was their relationship, which made it. But I think it's that he's this ignorant fool guy, and she's able to put up with his shit. But yeah.
Well, she has to save him all the time. It's almost like Wilma and Fred Flintstone. Fred comes in talking loud, talking shit, but at the end of the day, Wilma's the one's got to save his dumb ass from whatever the fuck he done got himself into. Him and Barney Rubble.
You know what else is a toxic show? The Jeffersons.
Oh, that's very toxic.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about these unhealthy portrayals of Black relationships in media.
Oh my God.
So the Jeffersons is one of those shows. I watch everything, so I actually like the Jeffersons. But it's definitely problematic in how this Black man treats his Black wife.
Yeah.
He's always yelling at her and going off, and she's wrong all the time. It's to me, it's like, and it's part of the humor. So I'm not. That's not lost on me. But the fact that this is what entertains us is watching this Black couple berate each other.
Well,
really.
Well, the thing about it is those were all carbon copies of the Honeymooners.
Oh, the same concept.
It's the same concept.
Angry husband.
Yeah, All in the Family, same thing.
I was going to say that, which the Jeffersons is a spinoff of, right?
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. But she was supposed to be so dingy, she didn't realize that he was, basically verbally abusing her the entire.
Which they tried to do with the show, That 70s Show. They tried to do the same thing with that show too, but a little more tongue-in-cheek because you couldn't get away with that in the late 90s, 2000s. You couldn't get away with that. But that was the way. Yeah, Fallopian is right. George was mean to everybody.
Yeah, but it's different people being mean to everybody and being mean to your wife.
Yeah. He was even mean to that. Remember, he saved that dude's life that had a heart attack, that racist white man? He was even mean to that motherfucker after he saved his life. But that's just the way they designed those TV shows, and I don't know where that came from. And I think, because if you go back to Leave It to Beaver's not like that.
No, it's not.
Honeymooners is inner city.
There is
but those are all suburban shows. So Honeymooners, Honeymooners, inner city. Martin, inner city.
I Love Lucy.
Married with Children. Yeah, I Love Lucy, inner city. So it's almost like if you live in the inner city, you're always stressed out, you're always tired, and your wife just won't shut up and she just gets on your nerves and she won't be quiet.
I thought about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, because they're all working class people. They're always struggling to get by, barely can get by. You didn't see that with the Cosby Show, but they were upper class. Dr. Cosby is a doctor or OBGYN.
They weren't in the inner city. They were in Upper East Side.
Well, yeah, but that's where they came from. You know what I mean? They came from the inner city, and they trying to hold on to what they got in the high-rise apartment in the sky. But, Dr. Cosby is an OBGYN. Mrs. Cosby is a lawyer. You ain't never seen them have no beef. Money changes a whole lot.
That's another show.
Oh yeah.
I love Red Fox. I'm a huge Red Fox fan. I'm a huge fan of
used to talk crazy to Esther.
Yeah, he was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I liked it that she could hold her own. So.
Oh yeah, she talked big shit.
You know what's funny? They call her ugly in the show, but she was a dancer and an actress for like.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful woman.
Oh yeah. Esther Rose been around for years.
She lived in Inglewood, like up the street from my grandmother for years.
Yeah, what's funny is that all of those actors from back in them days, Red Fox, all of them lived like in LA.
Oh yeah, South LA, Inglewood, Ladera, Hills. Yep.
Yeah, they didn't live way off in the middle of nowhere. The only people that was living way out there was O.J. Simpson and Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, they were out there in like Calabasas or some shit. I don't know where.
Brentwood.
Oh, that's not even. I'm thinking like the Valley. They're not that far. But yeah, I don't like that area.
Yeah, they're in Brentwood, and those. I don't even know if Brentwood is gay. It was never gated or nothing like that. It's just that.
Oh. What was your favorite portrayal of a Black relationship on TV or movie?
Man, it's funny because I don't think there was any realistic ones, but if I had to choose one, it would probably be the parents on Family Matters.
Really?
Because they were working class. I couldn't identify with Dr. Cosby and Miss Cosby. I like that relationship, but that's not my reality.
Yeah, I get that.
Towards Carl Winslow, even though he's a cop, he's at home all the time. So he's with his kids, he's raising his son and his daughters, and he's trying to do the best he can as a working man. And I know his wife, she didn't work. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she was always involved in doing something.
What's funny about that show's a spinoff. She was actually working, and then the show starts at her. She was on Perfect Strangers.
Oh yeah, she was. Damn, I forgot about that.
Spinoff of that, so she was working, and then the show Family Matters starts because she quits in Perfect Strangers to go back to become to be a stay-home mom.
Yeah, damn, your memory is better than mine. I thought I knew a lot about TV.
I watch old TV shows like a mother.
Shit, I forgot about that.
My mom and I like to talk about old TV shows, so I'm that person. I would just watch. I just stay. I watch the Dick Van Dyke Show. Like just
you got to really know old TV if you watch Dick Van Dyke. Keeping it real
was like my thing. So yeah,
that's interesting. But the thing about it is like with not Married with Children, but all the other relationships on TV all look the same. But theirs did it because they were Black working class. Even you remember the show Rock?
I do. I like their relationship.
But he never was angry or mean to his wife, but his temper was that short.
That's true, but he was never mean to his wife. Right.
So that relationship and then Family Matters is the only thing that I could identify with because one, I didn't identify with the Fred Flintstone, Wilma, honeymooners. Yeah. I didn't identify with that.
Those don't even look idealistic.
No, at all.
I just really hate.
They mimic and because they mimic other white relationships.
Right.
And then Martin was just crazy, So I definitely didn't identify with him. He was just crazy, you know what I mean? He was just out of his mind,
And somebody in the TV show in the comments said "Good Times," and the funny thing about "Good Times" is I actually don't like James Evans in that show. Everybody loves him, thinks he's like the best TV dad. I think he's terrible. I think they're pretty bad parents. I won't say bad parents because that's not fair. And the reason why I say that's not fair because it's like they give you the circumstances in which they're trying to parent. So to be fair, the circumstances in which they're living is difficult. So of course they're not going to be these idealistic perfect parents.
Right.
But outside of that, I just thought James Evans was really mean to his family.
Yeah. Stand out without handout said Ozzy and Ruby in fiction or in fact. But this is the crazy thing about them. And I think they both have passed away now. Ozzy
Davis and Ruby.
And Ruby D. Yeah. I think they both passed away as of probably about 6-7 years ago. But their relationship in real life, you know what I mean? Any movie, even when they were both in Do the Right Thing together, you could tell that they were in a relationship in real life. Because their chemistry was just off the hook. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love both of them, especially Ozzy Davis and Ruby D. I love them. That's Black royalty to me when it comes to Hollywood.
I'm trying to think like who are people that I really like as far as portrayals, relationships on TV. But I can't really think of too many. I guess the Huxtables would be like the closest one. But like you said, it's hard to identify with that because they have these ideal circumstances the entire time. It
was. I hate to say it like this, and this is probably what being poor and dealing with a system of white supremacy has done. But it was too good to be true because I didn't know anybody that lived like that.
Yeah, I mean, I knew people who lived like that, but they were like my mom's boss's family,
right?
But let me see. I really can't think of a Black family or a couple that I really, really like. Who did you say again? You said Rock and I like Vivian and Phil.
Okay. Well, which Vivian?
Both of them, really.
Really?
I don't like the second Vivian, but as far as their relationship, both relationships seem pretty cool.
See, I like the first Vivian because the first Vivian was you could tell she
richer, so I guess that makes that easier.
well, yeah, but you could tell that the first Vivian, she was still from around the way. You can tell that she hadn't lost.
Everybody likes the first Vivian. That's not debate, you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like. I see probable cause having big fun.
Yeah.
That was like, everybody loves Lisa Bonet. I mean, I love her too. How could you not love Lisa Bonet? But I really feel like Tempest Bledsoe was so underrated because she was
very
cool. She was like she was the coolest kid to me. Because Theo would do dumb shit like way too often. Like I like Theo, but he was just a dumb kid, you know. Rudy was nice and giving. She's the cute one. But I just always felt like Vanessa was just she always had like this. She's always into some bullshit, but it would make sense that a teenager would be in it.
Well, she's the classic middle child.
Yes, exactly. And I really like her a lot. So, but I guess the Huxtables really are the most ideal. So what I like about their relationship is they can joke around with each other. The only thing I didn't like is you never saw them fight. Not a real fight. They might avoid. And even then it'd be lighthearted humor. Like you don't really have to actually deal with anything as a couple.
When they looked out for each other too, like Cliff's whole thing is his health. His health was always trash. He had dreams about that sandwich. He ate that sandwich, started having dreams about it and shit.
He ate the hoagie. Yeah.
And then it was other situations where with Claire, they had some episodes where she had to deal with outside people, and they tried to do things against her because she was a woman and things like that. And Cliff was always supporting her. You know what I mean? Regardless,
I think that's what made it ideal is you saw a black man just support his wife.
Yeah.
And it was where white people were having and it's funny because it makes me think of Tommy Curry actually, when I read his stuff, because if you look at white TV shows, the relationship was actually white men are always working outside the home and the woman was always at home. Mm-hmm. And if the woman wanted to go to work, it was a fight. I don't know if you remember that. Mm-hmm. So it was like, no, I want the right to work. See, the thing about black women, we were never fighting for the right to work because we had already been fucking working, right?
Yeah.
Been here. So it didn't make sense to us to say to us, I want to fight to work doesn't make any sense. So we've always been working, and our men have always had to support the fact that we're working.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes their relationship so good is that he supported she supported him in medical school, and he supported her going to law school.
Yep.
They supported each other to achieve each other so that they could each achieve their goals. So the only thing I would say that I didn't like, I actually already said it, was that you don't see them actually work through anything together. Like a situation where they had to really figure shit out. But I think a lot of other shows had that. Like, we got to actually work on our marriage.
My wife
and kids.
See, I can't speak on that because I've never seen it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen. I stopped watching network TV shit a long time ago. Probably back when Bernie Mac show was on TV. That's the last time. Even the Bernie Mac show, him and his wife. You know what I'm saying? Bernie Mac and Wanda. You know what I mean? Like the way that they interacted with each other because they was taking care of somebody else's kids, and his reaction to taking care of someone else's kids is normal. And those aren't her family members; those are his family.
I love that show. That show is one of the most brilliant shows that I think don't get enough credit. Credit, but I don't think just in general because it was there were so many concepts that it covered on that show without cooning. You know what I mean? Like they were able to show them living in the kind of spaces you would expect a Bernie Mac to live.
Right.
They live in a predominantly black neighborhood, but it's a diverse neighborhood. He has these kids that he got from who did not live that way. They were from Chicago.
No. Yep.
Their mother was a crackhead or some shit.
Yep.
So he had to go get them. He had to go get them and bring them to his home. And his wife had to be like, we're gonna raise 3 kids together. So her whole Wanda was not the stay-at-home mom. In fact, it took her a long time to even feel like she was the mom in the situation.
Right.
I remember the episode, she didn't want to put Brianna's bumper sticker thing, student of the month or something on her car. Because Wanda is like, I'm fly all day, every day.
Yeah, I'm not no mom.
Right. And they weren't planning to have kids either.
Right. But that's a normal reaction to if you're in a relationship with somebody, then all of a sudden, here come these 2 kids that your husband then brought.
but you always see her supporting him. And
absolutely.
But the thing that's key is that you see them growing as parents.
Right. And because she had to pull him off a cliff many a time, because if you think of it like this, like you just said in the beginning, she really wasn't feeling it, but this is what that they had to do. But then as they grew, and when he would be like, I'm getting rid of these kids, she would have to pull him off the cliff. Like, no, you need to chill. You know what I'm saying? Like when he went to Costco and bought all that stuff, bought all that food and put it in the garage.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He had to check his ass a few times.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Other thing is what I really love about the show, and sometimes it just makes me feel like, damn, I just love this portrayal of a black man being nurturing. So remember, he was living this life of he had this old school way that he was raised.
Yeah.
And now he has to try to raise these kids. He's thinking he's going to use these old school ways, but the social services keep popping up because the kids are like, yo, he threatened me, gonna beat the black off me and all this.
Yep.
He's gonna beat me to the white meat. And so, and then I thought it's like one of the first episodes, or the first episode. Social worker's like reading back to him. You said you were gonna beat him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Bernie Mac is now forced to find an alternative way to parent these children. And
right.
Trial and error as he figures it out, because he fucks up multiple times, and in the end of every episode, he learns a lesson.
He does.
Every episode, he learns a lesson. He goes to the end. He says, "Oh man, this whole time, I realized I was wrong when I did this, but that boy shouldn't have did this."
Right.
I have to let him be his own man.
Right.
Like him having to come to terms with, how do I teach about masculinity? How do I also respect who he is as a boy, and the fact that he's still growing and learning himself? Because
he was afraid that Jordan was going to become feminine, to say the least. Basically, remember, he wanted to be a gymnast, and he's doing the thing with the and then Bernie was against it, but after a while he started supporting him, because that's just what it had nothing to do with the stuff that was going on in Bernie's mind. This is just what Jordan wanted to do. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna support that.
That was the thing. He was creating this. And it's funny they talk about this in therapy all the time, where your reaction is based off of your belief about the thing. That's the thing. So his belief about what that meant, but also realizing you can't hit the kids. You have to communicate. You have to find a way to act. And then you have this really smart teenager who calls you on your shit. Yeah. You call him on his shit, because the thing is, she would manipulate it though.
Oh yeah.
Because it was those kind of kids, having worked with kids who were in kinship care and foster care, those kids that's what they do. They're very manipulative. And I don't know manipulative because it's a negative connotation to that. But remember, kids like that, especially having had a drug addicted mom, living in the projects, all that shit, she's had to learn how to get her and her siblings' needs met. Right. Whatever cost. They've been in survival. Lie to you to your face to do it. I will lie to you to your face to do it. And that's what with those type of kids. So I love that they were always planning and strategic. That's what those kids do. And at the same time, he's learning how to, okay, if I do this thing, they just go harder at me. But when I do this thing, then we are able to hear each other. Right. I like what BL said. Bernie Mac's show was really good. Even though Bernie had money, he still had a down to earth working class sensibility to him, and that's what I identified with. He wasn't cooning. He wasn't. He wasn't like, I'm better than other black people. None of that. And I'm not saying that the Cosbys did that. It's just because the Cosbys remind me of the movie Boomerang. No, they did that. They were full of respectability politics. Well, no. What I'm saying is like their interaction with other black people. Like I know that's what they was all about. It reminds me of the movie Boomerang, where you don't see that because everybody's black. Now, they did have white people on the Cosby Show, but it was the respectability politics, and I didn't identify with that. You know what I mean? Because I always knew, even as a kid watching the Cosby Show, I knew they were different. Right. I knew they were different because, one, they got a nice ass house. Two, they ain't never talking about money, and they got a whole bunch of kids. You know what I'm saying? So I knew they were different, but then once I got older and I started watching, I was like, that's kind of cringy. You know what I mean? But they only interacted with bougie, even though Theo's friends were kind of knuckleheadish, but you can even tell that Theo's friends were middle upper class. They're bougie knuckleheads. Yes. They're not from the hood. Like that didn't happen until Theo started working in the alternative school in the later seasons. But when cousin Pam came on is when they tried to give the street edge. Exactly. And her friends were from the streets. Her friends were from the streets. But when Theo started working in that school, once he had graduated from college, then they had that street element. Right.
But before that, you didn't see any of those type of characters. I mean, you know, like we're talking about.
Intentional. I mean, remember that show was very intentional. They hired in order to do this. They
right.
Black psychologists to do this. You know, so it wasn't like, and they have because credit is in the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
How important he was to this show. So you know, this wasn't. It wasn't just like, oh, this is what is going to happen to turn out this way. We're going to just write it. However, no, they planned for it to be that way. And I've even heard them talk about it. For example, there was an interview with Felicia Rashad, and she said we were very Black, and you could see it was Black. Maybe we didn't walk around saying, hey, we're Black, but it was in all the art on the walls. It was in the tradition.
Yeah.
In the music that we were holding up and honoring. They always brought on music legends. Black music legends, people that
Stevie Wonder, Lena Horne.
What's it, McKeeby?
Miriam Makeba.
Miriam, yeah, she was. You know, so did you say Lena Horne already? Yeah. So and the older tap dancers, and you know, so legends in Black entertainment that I would have never learned about. You know, so part of it, they did definitely have that Black culture element. But my thing about that is that seems to be very typical of that Black middle class society. It's like, oh, how do we have the Black version of what white people are, or what white people are?
That's very true.
So it's ours, but we still fit into this sort of respectable mode because that's what the whole thing is. We're gonna prove that we're just as good as white people.
Because I don't think there was a white version of the Cosby Show. I can't think of one.
No.
Mr. Belvedere, or not Mr. Belvedere? Different Strokes. What was Mr. Drummond? Wasn't he a lawyer?
Yeah, but this is the thing. That's still the thing. And I believe the Black psychologist is the one that put this together. They knew Black people weren't trying to watch a Black housewife.
Right.
Because most Black women were not housewives.
Right.
That wasn't even going to sit well with nobody. You know, and so I'm pretty sure the Black psychologist put that there. So the fact is that there were two Black professionals. So, and they were supporting each other. So I just think that dynamic also, that makes it still very clearly Black, but it still holds up this sort of white ideal of family.
I think it was also in that era because, most of the people that were, like in that era, the Cosby Show, I think started in 1984. I was 3. You know what I mean? But the teenagers at that time, those teenagers are now who Diddy is. That's Diddy. That's their generation. That's Jay-Z's generation. That's everybody that was in hip hop in the early 90s and making money off hip hop. That was their generation. All the people that made Freaknik and made HBCUs look popular, that was their generation. So shows like the Cosby Show, shows like A Different World. We've talked about this on the podcast before. A lot of Black people that end up moving to the suburbs in the early 90s, and their kids were raised in the suburbs who are millennials today that don't have any interaction with Black people, don't really understand Black culture and things like that, is directly connected to that. You know what I'm saying? Their parents graduated college in 87 or 88 when School Days came out and all the Spike Lee movies and Air Jordan and all that kind of stuff. And they aspired. I don't even know if they did it consciously. They aspired to be better than regular Black people, but they definitely moved out the hood.
So this is where my favorite topic is to come up, which is Black history in America and Black economic history. So it's like I'm obsessed with this shit. I talk about this shit like every time I'm on this thing. So you're right. It's more subconscious than anything. Now remember, there was a Black middle class boom in like the 50s and 60s. Remember, because with that nation, more Black people were working. So that's when redlining and shit started getting popular because Black people were making money and wanted to go buy houses in the suburbs. And that's when they were like, nope, you can't live over here, and all that other shit was happening, right? So basically, if you were Black and had money, you still had to live around Black people, or you had to basically create your own community. Mm-hmm. But that happened because of because of the Great Migration, people moving from the South out after slavery, moving from the South into the North, into the West. And then that second wave, everybody's coming up because they're like, oh, people are doing better up there. That's where the jobs are. The factories are in Ohio and Detroit. Let's all roll up. We're going to roll up there. You know, we got to go up to New York. You want to be a show business entertainment. That's where you go, right? So everybody's moving from the South into the North and the West. And so now you got these jobs. You're making money. And now you want your kids to be able to, you want to pass that down to your kids. And I watched this other documentary about a Black upper middle class community in Sag Harbor. And it was mostly Black there. Now it's mostly rich white people, but it was a area. These were basically upper middle class Black people who bought property there, but their kids didn't want to take the property. They didn't want to pass it down for whatever. They started selling property off. So now all white people live in this. And this wasn't prime real estate when Black people bought it, but now it's prime real estate, right? So you have this generation of people who come from that era or that time period where you had a bigger Black middle class. I'm not saying everybody lived in that Black middle class. I'm definitely not saying that at all. But but it was bigger and it existed. And so that's when you started having more Black kids go to college now. And a different world is what promoted a lot of the HBCUs.
Right.
So there is a lot to this is generational, and it comes from, and how we see this, like even today, all this plays out from just our history. Yeah,
because we talked about this a while ago, and it was like we started looking at how, I think we were talking about a different world, or if it was the Cosby Show, and we were talking about Gen X, and we were talking about people like Diddy. Those people should be about 50 years old now. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Diddy, Ice Cube, all the early 90s, late 80s hip hop artists. And it seemed like they were the generation that went to college, because, if you grew up in the, if you have a grandparent today and you're my age or your age, if you have a grandparent that went to college, that's very rare. A lot of Black people wasn't going to college in the 1940s and 1950s.
My grandfather went to college. He graduated. And my great grandfather went to college.
Yeah, see, that's rare.
Ohio. Oh, no, I know. It's very rare.
So for those people that had grandparents or whatever that went to college, but if you didn't, then your parents were the ones that was telling you, hey, this is what you need to do. Because like you said, we're locked out of wealth. We've been redlined. It's the 1960s, the 1970s. Okay, so you're born in 1965 or 1964. You know what I mean? Or even like Tupac, 1971. Well, by the time 1990 comes, you're the one that graduated from college. You're the one that's trying to access wealth. So you started a record label called Def Jam, or you started Death Row, or you started Bad Boy. And you're
skipping some stuff though. So remember, in the 60s and 70s, all factories were leaving.
Well, definitely,
so people are losing their jobs.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So the other thing is, so basically it turns out if you don't, now they tell you in order for you to get a job, you have to go to college, because other jobs that you can just get right out of high school and be able to feed.
They don't exist anymore.
A house that no longer exists. So now you have these big movements. I think the Cosby Show was a part of that. I call it propaganda movement to get kids to start going to college. Right. Right. So that's happening. But also what's happening, remember, everybody's losing their jobs. So you also have the crack epidemic. That happens in the 80s, right? So then you're basically forced to have things like record labels because there are no jobs.
Right. So you take 80% of the population, they're still stuck in the ghetto. The other 20% are the ones that go to college. Now, the 20% that go to college, when they graduate and they become, if they're working on Wall Street or whatever they're doing for a living, they don't want to go back.
Right.
So they move to.
And most of them that went to college and graduated, they're not getting those jobs on Wall Street.
No.
They're not getting at the big law firms. They work at the small law firm around the corner that does traffic tickets.
But it's just enough to be what they call JOB, just above broke. But you're doing just enough to not have to live in 1990 Compton. You can actually live in Baldwin Hills or North Hollywood or somewhere away from where you came from.
Well, what I'm saying is that the Wall Street people, yes. But most of those other people were just back in the hood. You didn't have.
Oh no! Yeah, I'm not talking about them. I'm using the small population of people that I'm talking about is like the people that did go to college and did get those opportunities, and they raised those kids. They raised their kids in the suburbs. Their kids are 25, 26 years old now. You know what I'm saying? And and you see this on social media. There's these Black people that are between the ages of 24 and 30, they have no type of experience of working or being around Black people.
Right.
And you have to ask yourself, like, how the hell do you not know any Black people outside of when you come to the hood to visit grandma or your cousins? And those are the same people that end up creating a lot of the shows that we're watching today. And I know you watch the show, but if you look at Issa Rae and you look at her show, it doesn't seem like someone that grew up around Black people.
It does to me, though.
It doesn't seem like anybody that grew up around Black people to me.
She seems like a Ladera Heights person.
But Ladera Heights is not predominantly black.
Maybe not now, but during the era that she would have grown up there, yeah, it was.
So you
right now, no, actually, Ladera Heights is still predominantly black.
Is it still predominantly black?
But we're losing it, and it's getting less and less. But I'm pretty sure we're still predominantly black.
Because it sounds, and I'm not saying that there's only you're either going to be hood black or suburban black. That's not what I'm saying.
I know you're not saying that because Ladera isn't the suburbs.
No. So what I'm saying is like
all the hills, Ladera Heights are all South Central. So what I'm saying is it does look like she grew up around black people, but it looks like she grew up around the black people in Ladera Heights and Baldwin Hills and shit. Is what I'm saying. Yeah,
which is not the same as someone that grew up where you grew up.
Shaw and Slauson. They're
right.
Blocks down because LA hoods are different. So you can be in a wealthy or upper middle class black neighborhood and across the street literally be in the hood. So it's really different here.
So it's like but what I'm saying is that the culture that they grew up around, they always seem like they're being extra. You know what I mean? So like when they're
I definitely see that.
And it's like that's not the way black people function, and you're functioning like you didn't grow up around black people. You know what I'm saying?
So I'll say this. I don't know if everybody who works in the show is from LA or from Black LA. Issa is, but I don't know if everybody is. I know the guy who's the showrunner, Prentice, whatever his name is. I don't know what his background is. I don't know. So I definitely see exactly what you're saying. I feel like they just look at Twitter all day and see what people are talking about, create storylines, and then little tiny little black things to.
That's my point.
Yeah, I think that's very strategic because they want us to talk about it on Twitter, which is.
But that's my point, because the people that are making those stupid tweets on Twitter, they didn't grow up around black people. You can tell by the way that they say certain things and the way that they interact with other black people and the way they talk about black culture. You're like, man, these motherfuckers couldn't have grew up around anybody black. To them, wearing blackness is like wearing a costume that they can take off when they get back to the suburbs and be around whoever the hell they grew up around. You know what I'm saying?
So BL has some insight into Issa, I guess. I think he's talking about Issa. So she lived in Potomac for most of her life, a white suburb in Maryland, until like she was like a teen. Then she started being around black people. And that's what I'm saying. I know from what I read, she was out here in LA at a certain point. In Ladera Heights area, Baldwin Hills area, which is like upper middle class. So I'm sure her parents were doing pretty good. The thing about if you come to LA and you're black with money, if you're either going to go to the Valley or you're going to go to the hood.
Right.
Ladera Heights, Baldwin Hills, Windsor Hills, View Park. It's just so funny. It's hard to explain LA and black LA to people because LA is so spread out and big. That's the other part of it. And I didn't realize how big it was until I really started driving around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was Uber drivers when I actually learned. I was like, damn, this is still LA. This is what the fuck am I?
Well, I mean, but like you were saying, even though there are black people in Ladera Heights, but they only associate with each other what they believe blackness to be.
Yeah, and that was my thing. And I'll tell you the truth. I always had a chip on my shoulder. Not now, and I'm an adult now, and I've dealt with my bullshit. Yeah, BL, yes, Issa, she was around 14, and I did read that. You're you're on point. So I was, I had a really big.
Thanks for the super chat, Lemmy.
Kenny, some of them do their cost. So growing up, me from South Central, I grew up really poor. I'm from 105th and Normandy. If you remember what it looked like in the 90s, I lived in that apartment. If you're from that neighborhood, you know what I'm talking about. I lived in that building. So I went to school though in Inglewood. I went to La Tijera. So La Tijera, if you've seen the movie The Wood, that was my school. And that was actually the year that I was there at the school when that movie was being filmed. And a lot of my friends and my cousin are in it actually. So that was if you've ever seen The Wood, that's pretty much that area. It's middle class black people. Remember in The Wood, that's a middle class black family. They're showing you middle class LA, right? And how they're basically still in the hood.
Right.
Growing shit. So I would go to that school with kids whose parents were dentists, their moms were teachers and police officers, or their dad owned real estate, shit like that, right? So these are the kids I'm going to school with. I And don't get me wrong though, it was interesting because you had the hood kids and the bougie kids in the same school. So
right.
Kids there. But La Tijera, unlike some of the other schools in the area, had less of the hood kids. So I just always had a chip on my shoulder because I was the poorest. Usually me and a couple other girls, I won't say their name in case they ever watch this, because they follow me on Facebook. A couple other girls that I was friends with, we were the poorest kids in our classes.
Right.
At least as far as we could tell. And so we were often teased, and me being a girl being raised by a dad, which is tough. I'm sure I just want to say, Kenny, I know you're a great dad, but I promise you your daughter's going to say there were some tough moments for her.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
So being a girl being raised by a dad, there were a lot of moments. My dad not knowing shit about fashion or hair, and just sending me off to school. And I'm like 8 or 9, and I go to this school where I don't know anybody, and they're teasing me and whatnot, and they're always talking about, like, I have an aquarium in my tank. I mean, I have an aquarium in my wall in my house, and I have this in my house. You don't have this, and we have that, and my mama drives this, and I didn't, they clown my little XJ900s. If you ever,
oh my God, XJ900s, dang.
What was the other Pro Wings? All that shit. So they would clown me and shit. So I always had a chip on my shoulder about those kids, about those people from those neighborhoods. Right. So I got older and I realized life is way more complex than that. But it was just one of those things. When those kind of families, I always saw how they lived. And the other thing is, I was friends with one of this girl whose grandmother was in Lynx, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. And her grandmother was super bougie and her grandmother lived in Baldwin Hills. So my homegirl invited me to have dinner with her family up there, right? Because I forgot why. She just wanted me to be there with. So I was like, okay, cool. So I go, I meet her grandma. Her grandma is picking at me the entire time. And what's so funny is, in the hood, everybody says I'm proper. So I talk like a white girl, right? All these people tell me I talk like a white girl. I'm sitting in this lady's dinner table and she's just talking about how every time I talk, she's correcting my English the entire time. To the point where it got humiliating. And then she would just start, kind of like, I thought she was just always trying to take little shots at me. And I wasn't apparently everything I did was wrong. I didn't know how to sit. I was never appropriate. And it was almost like I thought she was saying, like, how dare you bring this like uncivilized heathen from the ghetto?
Well, I mean, like somebody said earlier, she's a chocolate covered white person. Pretty
much. And although she wasn't that chocolate, she was pretty bright. But yeah, so I just so that respectability politics shit and how they live, I just always had this like aversion and a chip on my shoulder about it. Not now, again, I'm older, but at the time growing up, it's just interesting how that world is.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm like, I'm not saying that you either got to be from the hood, you got to be from Jordan Downs or Knicks, or you from Ladera Heights or Baldwin Hills. No, there is a middle in between, in working class. And what I've noticed is that coming from the Cosby era, a lot of those people that had kids that are now 25, 26, there's always been this, it's almost like looking at white people have conversations about their black friends they hang out with, to a certain degree. The music that they listen to, the way they associate with each other, the way they associate with other black people they don't identify with. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because they all have something negative to say about the hood. They always do. But they love to come to the hood, get the slang, learn the dances, get the music, and then go back to the suburbs to hang out with their 8 black friends and 2 white friends. So it's like they're almost lost in this the Twilight Zone kind of. They're suspended in reality, like they're just stuck in this place, and they never really achieve whiteness, but they also never really achieve blackness because they really don't understand black culture. They don't know what that really means outside of going to the hood, seeing grandma, and finding out the dances and doing the talking and the slang.
Well, that's the thing about taking your kids away from their people and their culture. There's a reason why groups of people like to live with each other.
Right.
It doesn't make you racist. And I think black people have bought into the belief that if you become ethnocentric, that you're somehow oppressive to other groups, and that's not true.
Right.
Being ethnocentric, meaning we want to marry within our group, live in our neighborhoods with each other. That's a good thing. Patronize each other's businesses. That's a good thing. We want to do those things. But I think a lot of times we get caught up, and those people especially, they get caught up in thinking that you can only get nice things if you live in white areas and interact with white people.
Right, exactly.
And so in order for me to get those things, I have to, live in this community and live this way and behave this way. And then that becomes like their belief system. And I feel because you take your kids away from their own people, they lose their identity. Like, who are they?
But then when you get that, what they call the nigga wake up call, that's when you start seeing people that react. They don't know how to react. You know what I mean?
I saw that in college a lot.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you right now, I've seen so many black suburban kids turn into Black Panthers when they got to college. They used to get on my nerves, though, because I was like,
well, they're always the one usually those people are real extra.
That's the thing. They're always and I used to get really annoyed because they would get really preachy with me. And I was like, girl, you just discovered this shit today.
Yesterday, yeah.
I've been doing this shit for the past 5-6 years, since I was a kid.
Yeah, this is what I lived through this. So,
right. I'm still doing it. And, so actually it's irritate the fuck up. You just discovered this shit. Like, you just discovered, Columbus didn't discover America.
Right, yeah.
God, what? Columbus didn't discover America? Yeah,
motherfucker, you 19 years old, man. What the fuck?
Studies course.
Lamin said, Black history education, the real Black history is almost non-existent in African countries. Those of us who know what happened are fringe. Talks like this, it'll get better, worse than America. That's very interesting because
I would like to know more about that, actually.
Yeah, I want to know more about that because I used to believe, and I never, Africa is the biggest continent on the planet, so you can't say they're all the same. Everybody in Africa is the same. If you was born in the Sudan, you are not like the person that was born in Ethiopia. You guys are not the same at all. You don't speak the same language. You probably don't eat the same food. You don't have the same customs, nothing. You don't have the same religion, any of that. But I think it's very interesting, depending on what country in Africa that does not value the education and things like that. Because I believe that, colonial history, because of colonial slavery and white supremacy, it became easier to say, you know what, let's just leave that alone, become Christians, and we'll be just fine. However, you can hide, it's like a shield. You can hide behind religion and all these different things. So you said education, really... Western education? Expound on that.
Oh.
Western education? Hold on.
I don't know, but I did want to.
The real Black history is almost non-existent in African countries. Those of us who know what happened are fringe. Right. Talks like this. It'll get better, worse than America. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, over there, you guys have a lot of ways to. You guys have. So you're saying like the education in the Western world, talking about the way we talk over here about history, they don't talk like that over there. I figured as much. It's based on the West, but if your education is based on the West, then you're getting the white version, the European education.
So that's interesting because I was just talking to my brother on yesterday, about like how we look at Africa. Because he went to Egypt. He was the division and the lines of that we see Africa as now, that was not Africa. Right. With the Eurocentric westernized lens of what Africa is. This is Egypt over here. This is this area. This is that area. This is this district. A lot of those lines were developed after colonialization. And right. After the times when a lot of those, people were getting, it was Alexander the Great and shit, Yeah. Whatever they call that shit, Yeah. So a lot of shit was lost in ancient world and then later with colonialization. So I think that's a huge part of it. And remember, there's still European countries. I mean, European businesses that own entire mines and land in a lot of these countries. You know? So they're the only fund. So basically, they're raping a country. For example, I think that's why the document. I want to say it was not Zimbabwe. It was Zaire. I think it was. And I think they have. Is it copper? I think they have copper in Zaire. Essentially, the place is poor. They're poisoning the water, pumping this copper out. And I'm like, how is that country poor and the copper's on their land? Right. But the country's poor. But the thing is, if they don't accommodate these European copper miners, then they feel like they're going to lose out on resources and aid. But they need the aid if they were able to make profit off of the resources that are on their land.
And that comes from generation upon generations.
Yes, but a lot of those places also, the aid in a lot of these white places fund education in a lot of these countries.
Right.
Donate to our organization because we're funding education over here. We know that they do this, right? And then they tell us, "Oh, look, we built a school in Africa." You know, these kids with their heads shaved, you know, singing and clapping in Africa because we done bought them a school. What do you think they're teaching them in that school?
Yeah.
Do you think teaching them how can they liberate themselves from these white supremacist European?
Well, I was just about to say, even politically, the people that are running the country, the presidents in those countries, were put there, and that's again a whole nother conversation for another TV show. When we're talking about, like, remember I was telling you about that book, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be a coup. They can get whoever the person that was supporting the people. They're getting out of there. They're either gonna get them out of there, or they're gonna kill them. And then they're going to bring in their guy. He's going to be African, but he's going to make sure that he's doing everything that Europe and the United States wants. And that's just the way it is. And the people are going to have to suffer under that. You know what I mean? And that's why they have all those civil wars that keep happening in all these different African nations, because the people are tired of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Makes sense.
There was something somebody said earlier, and I don't want to, because we're like getting way into like.
Yeah. Well, we you know, I'm starting to sweat too. I'm getting hot.
Political history shit.
Right.
That's what it was. My mom went new ways for now. Said my mom went by granddad's philosophy, follow the white people. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, I see it. Wait. Right there.
Yeah.
My mom went by granddad's philosophy of follow the white people. Yeesh.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I find that to be really interesting. That's right. To me, that makes me think of like when we tell kids they have to work twice as hard to be just as good. That always bothered me because it's
I ain't never believed that shit.
Why would I work twice as hard in their system instead of working twice as hard for my own people?
Exactly.
Work twice as hard for their shit so you can get a job in their shit. What?
No, that's kind of counterproductive. Yeah.
And also BL said I actually want to write a movie about that. How being at a PWI, you'll encounter some Black people who newly discover their Blackness and white liberals who think they can speak for us, and that is.
Oh yeah, that's. I went to Portland State University. That's basically what Portland State University is. You know what I'm saying? At PSU, that's what I got lucky. I grew up in a household with my grandparents. My grandmother was pro-black. My grandfather was pro-black. He just didn't talk too much. But and it was almost pro-black to where it was, it was almost could be a detriment because my grandmother would say some shit and you'd be like, damn, is it like that? And she would keep it raw. She would keep it raw with you. You know what I mean? Because they from the South, from New Orleans, Louisiana, Arkansas, and they dealt with some fucked up shit. So my grandmother would figure, well, I'm going to just give it to you raw so that you see what this is. But when I got to college, luckily for me, I was a little bit older when I went to college. And I started seeing how there was a lot of Black kids on that campus that, like you said, they didn't know anything about their history. But then when they did, all of a sudden they want to grow a big afro and start talking all this crazy talk. And then they want to educate a motherfucker like me. And I'm like, dude, you're not even from around the way. Like, what are you talking about?
You know what's funny? When I was in high school, a lot of my friends would always like get mad. So, like, they talk about some movie or TV show, and I'd go, I say, oh, that was racist, right?
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, you think everything is racist? Now, funny thing is, everything is racist, but
everything is racist, yes.
But the thing about that is I was actually highlighting things that were very accurate because. I had been doing that shit since I was a little kid. My dad would make me sit there and point out the problematic shit and explain to me why it was problematic. Then started making me identify it for myself. So I've been doing this most of my life. I get to college, and my friends who I knew since some of my friends we were all in the same scholarship programs. Some of my high school friends went to college with me. We all went to USC. So a lot of them get there and they started getting political all of a sudden. And I'm just like, I remember just 2 years ago, you were telling me I thought everything was racist. Now you out here with your Angela Davis t-shirt and you didn't even know who she was.
Exactly.
You know? So I just thought that was interesting. Like, oh, I remember when I was trying to talk to y'all because I was an activist, so I was trying to get them to come out to protest and shit, right? So, you know.
Yeah, definitely. When you finish writing the script, man, let us know. I said, because the thing about it is, man, when I was doing my comprehensive exam in graduate school, like I was doing a lot of research in history, and my entire thesis was African American mentorship on predominantly white campuses. None of the research existed. It all existed on HBCUs, which makes sense because that's where majority of black males go. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna receive that type of mentorship, it's gonna happen on an HBCU. So the research that I was doing was I just started seeing how if you were an African American male on a PWI and you weren't an athlete and you're not a part of Greek life, you're gonna be isolated because everybody else is not gonna welcome you in. 1, 2, the people that are on campus, they're racist and you just don't know it. 3, if you're on that campus and you start advocating for yourself, that's when you start getting isolated and pushed off, whether it be your professors, your counselors, the entire administration. They not really going to fuck with you. So it was kind of difficult to receive mentorship. And you can see the dropout rates at PWIs for African-American males is horrible.
Yeah.
And they said the dropout, they usually drop out within the first year. You know what I'm saying? Because of the lack of access to mentorship. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, yeah, man. Look, I got lucky because I went when I was a little bit older and I had mentors, and I wasn't in Greek life and I wasn't an athlete the second time when I went to go get my degree and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't an athlete, so I didn't have any of that stuff. But when I did that research and I did my comprehensive exam, I had professors in there like, damn, you know what I mean? And I was like, y'all never did this kind of research? There was like, and one professor kept it real, and he was like, well, I really didn't have to. Why would I? If I only got 2 black kids, my cohort, I was the only black person in graduate school. So why would I do the research? And this was a black professor.
I mean, that makes sense though.
Yeah.
What is PWI?
You said what?
So this is at Portland, right?
Yeah, it's PWI, yeah.
I'm saying it's PWI. So
I mean, I would go through JSTOR and all these looking for all these articles, and I couldn't find shit.
But what I think is important, this is the thing I really hate about the fact that HBCUs aren't really funded well, and now they're public. A lot of them are public, private, which is a bigger problem. But I really think they should have been black researchers, bigger institutions for research. That takes a lot more funding than a lot of them had. A lot of their programs end up getting cut. A lot of them have a lot of HBCUs. But that kind of stuff is what black universities should be researching and be at the forefront of, Yeah,
you would think.
But I want to say, BL, I would love to read whatever it is that you decide to write.
Yeah, man. Let us know when you get done with that because we'll definitely get involved on that, man. Definitely.
That's the kind of shit I like to read about. So, right up my alley.
I'm getting hungry, Vida.
Oh yeah, I've been sneaking bites of my food.
Yeah, I gotta eat, and I ain't got my AC on, so I'm in here sweating. My face is looking all shiny.
Yeah, I'm looking my food.
So I want to thank everybody for stopping in. The mask is out there, Redbubble. The mask. And yeah, we got we have 2 new shows that are popping up. I think everybody's already heard the first one that me and Mario did 2 days ago, but then me and T did one. Oh, me, T, and Mario did one yesterday. So it should be coming up on the Patreon or on SoundCloud in the next 24 hours or something like that. Which I don't think everybody for sure. I want to thank Dr. Briggs, even though she ran off. I didn't run her off. It wasn't me.
Oh my God.
And thank Vida for coming in, and hope everybody has a nice night and stay cool. All right, peace.